Welcome back, everybody, to some more NACE Starleague action. I almost called that CSL. I mean, we're all under the same umbrella. We're starting the week off with some Rocket League. I am Danger Taco. I'm tripping over my words, probably because I'm nervous. I'm sharing the booth with a special person. We got Hyperia here with us today. How are you doing?
I came all the way across the pond for this, so this collegiate better not disappoint me. I'm looking forward to this, though, and I think we can cut right to the chase. Powder's on the pitch today. Powder's another caster, and I want to see him play.
Yeah, absolutely. We're both know Powder personally, and he's going to be our first matchup on the day. He is a member of the Aquinas roster. We got 3 Rocket League matches ahead on the broadcast that we will be able to show to you on screen right now. Starting off with Aquinas, our boy Powder, facing off against the lads from Central Michigan. After that, we have Oakland University and University of Kansas, 2 undefeated teams. Only one of them will be undefeated after that one. And Eastern Tennessee State versus Tulsa University to round out our Rocket League action before we then throw you off to the lads on the Overwatch broadcast to round out the collegiate esport evening. But these 3 matches, a lot on the line. As we were talking, these lineups look pretty even, especially based on game record.
A game record is something that we can gauge the most out of right now. These players are still trying to kind of make their mark into the collegiate scene, into the competitive Rocket League scene. We've got Stocks, NOCE and then obviously Powder. And on the side of Central Michigan, Brendo plus Useless, who is a sub here today. Central Michigan, they do have the record advantage, but they will have a disadvantage in playing with a sub. And then last but not least, Carvanis to finish the Central Michigan roster off. I'm incredibly excited and also very interested to see how they will be coming out of the gates and how they can keep their nerves.
And I think it's really important because, of course, I think even players that are seasoned, especially within the collegiate level or otherwise, do get stream jitters. I've talked to several people about this, that sometimes when you know that they have people watching or just, us being jerks in the booth and criticizing them or at least analyzing them as we are analysts, people do get a little jumpy. And I think that's one thing to balance out, especially since we are to the point of the season where these games are really coming down to the wire. Losses can really affect your placement in that first and second. If you can't get in that playoffs as that top seed, it can be somewhat anxiety inducing. So hopefully these players can fight through that and give us a good show. And I think they have it within them. They've certainly proved it in the previous weeks, and I don't think any exception will be coming this time.
I don't think so either. As you say, it is going to be very intense, and every match has so much riding on it. Aquinas, they're currently 4-1, as we already stated. Central Michigan 5-0. If Aquinas win here today, they'll be completely tied. Aquinas will have the head-to-head advantage. We all know you can be able to do something a billion times, but as soon as you say to your parents or something, hey, look, I can do this, and then you fail miserably, and they're like, you'll get it next time, kid, you'll get it next time. Let's hope it doesn't happen on the picture today, though.
I think these guys have nerves of steel, or at least that's just my wild conjecture about how they're going to play today, but it's our first match on stream. Of course, we're super excited to see them actually kick in to the game. Unfortunately, we got everyone on the field right now. Game number 1 about to commence. Very curious to see if we're going to be seeing a back and forth. I know in the previous weeks of NACE Starleague, we've actually seen the players either go for just straight up sweeps to start the day, but it was a little bit back and forth, a tense game. We've seen reverse sweeps attempt. We've seen successful reverse sweeps. So really the best part about NACE Starleague is that sometimes I come into a match, I'm not 100% sure on all the players, but they always give me something that I can't predict, and it's an emotional roller coaster all the way through.
Because with other matches, sure, you can be able to say from the get-go, this team is the favorite, and then once they sweep, oh, well, we all saw that one coming. But now, once a team wins game number 1, all of a sudden, they can still lose 3 straight. That game number 1, it is incredibly important, but at the same time, you do kind of want to write it off as a warm-up, as getting the nerves out of your system. And now the players are ready. The players are joining up to the pitch. There are 5 minutes on the clock. Stocks and Carvanis kicking us off, and this is game 1 underway.
And so I'm looking to see what is going to be the pace setter, or rather who is going to be the pace setter on the field. A lot of high-flying action, at least right now, but some direct shots coming through. I always need something to test the goalkeeper early on, see really how much of a fortress are you trying to break down on defense as a player up on offense right now. It seems like Aquinas trying to set up camp in the half, but some admirable defense coming through from Central Michigan will be back out to mid.
Absolutely love that you say which player, because usually that will be the case with collegiate. Somebody just plays that a little bit more, has more experience, and then will be able to pull something off. Lemon and Stocks actually pinching it to the center. Stocks wanting obviously to get that into the back of the net, but now it's Brendo. Useless, the sub coming through, has to get a second touch, stays close to the play, pinched it to the other side, gives possession away, but Aquinas, they are getting a grip on this game already. Stocks breaking through, but not completely unscathed, so we'll have to back off.
Yeah, and they're showing a lot of speed. I do like it, but at the end of the day, you do need a little bit help, maybe from the opponents. That's going to be a giveaway in the back post. No touch by Lemon, and they're going to be flailing to get this one out. Carvunas with a softer touch to get it clear, so some possession play used as a form of a contrast, I would say, to the style of Aquinas. It's nice to see Central Michigan sub has still a play style they're trying to try out, and I do respect them for trying to stick with it as much as possible. Might even get a shot right here. That's just going to be a setup right here. Carvunas with a bump to lead the way will go right into Powder, and another save out to the corner.
Central Michigan, after being on defense almost that entire first minute, they're getting breakaways. They're getting that transition into the attack. Neither team has it yet to score, though. Brendo sends it forward. Free ball for Powder, or at least what it should be. Indeed, it is. Carvanis Catch it on the other end. Doesn't get a 50 with Lemon. Pops it up high. Brendo, quick to it. Nice pace behind him. Tries to close that gap once again. Useless. Improving his name and not getting in touch on the ball right there. Stux pops it up to the sky. Tries to fake out Corvinus, but has a great read on it. And it is still 0-0.
And right now, this is a classic game one game where both teams are just trying to feel each other out, and it's nothing too creative busting out. I don't think they're confident enough to trail those infield passes. It mostly seemed like they're just trying to see how secure that backboard is as another high lob will go through, and this time it's not the most secure. That was another sitter in front of net. Central Michigan could not get the read, though, and another missed opportunity. This time, Lemon looking deep, but Brendo will be able to get in line. So as much as we talk about that creativity, that long ball always still a threat. Such a consistent way that these teams can try to pick apart a defense. Sometimes you just look downfield and you're given a gift.
You're able to completely mitigate any danger coming towards your side by booming it wide and also force a mistake out of your opponent. If they miss the read, if they miss a corner read or anything like that, that can open an avenue. This will open an avenue as well. Stux a tad too far out, and in the third man, you don't want to commit that hard. Stux getting bumped up, allows Brendo to be there first. Lemon goes to the backward, useless staying underneath the ball, ice in the veins, and as of right now, the nerves that we talked about initially, I do not see any of them. Stux, let's see whether he can keep it calm here. Gets it to the backward, but no teammate will be coming through.
The contact on the ball is nice. Maybe the actual precision is not. Powder getting messed with and still gets enough on the save. Stux will slowly try to dig this one out of the sideline, but low on boost, they'll just have to hang near it. Trying to pre-flip into a touch, but no such luck. Powder trying their hand on the offensive half. It's right into the ceiling. It's right into Lemon, and it is right in the goal.
That will be a sour one, of course. With 1 minute 16, there is time left, but they have been breaking through on the side of Aquinas just that little bit more than Central Michigan. Central Michigan, they need to try and, if they're going to adapt to this play style where they try and sit back, go on the quick transition, they need to be just that little bit quicker. Useless attempting that, but nobody there for the follow-up. Stux attempts to go out wide. Nice hit over. Corvinus, that's not a great touch. Lemon has an open net. Will snipe the angle. Power looking to steal it, but Lemon puts in his second.
It's almost like we saw that first goal, and then we start to see the beads of sweat start to form on Central Michigan's foreheads. They want to push forward, they want to get forward, and then the one touch in the midfield completely breaks down the defense, and players this caliber, they're not going to miss an open net. Aquinas with that nice 2-0 lead. 62 seconds to protect it. Seems like game number one might be in their pocket, but we have seen some close calls in their back line.
They still need to keep it together, still need to keep it dialed in. Stux looking for that pass back center. Did get a flip, not going to be able to use it, stayed way too close to the ball, not that he could do anything about it. Corvinus 50 with Powder, who's been sitting on the back line the entire time. That's the thing about Aquinas, they have a 2-goal lead, and I don't really see them give it up. Their defense is solid. A shot coming through. Stux, no trouble clearing that away, but it's straight to the center, allows another shot for Brendo. Not going to score in at this moment. Central Michigan need to score.
So pushing forward, running out of time with these higher lobs are definitely burning down some boosts. Getting interfered with again is Powder. It's going to open up for Brendo with these tighter angles. They have to be so perfectly placed to break through the defense, and Aquinas is not in a charitable mood. They're locking down their half, and they have lasted through the barrage. Powder with one more clear will drain the remaining seconds, and with one more push forward, Lemon will let it sit down. A good win from Aquinas. They're taking game number one.
They've taken game number one. Now I directly want to go back to what we already stated. It is game number one. You are able to brush it off, and that's exactly what Central Michigan should do. They are playing with a sub. Take this minute or so to talk it through with your team, see what you can do better, and I think it's mainly the transition into the attack can use a little bit more speed.
I think certainly when you're trying to get into attack, the biggest issue that I often see with teams is either really one or the other thing. It's really a coin flip for some teams. Is either you're trying to play too fast and the players are going on the ball so hard that you all have to rotate back at the exact same time, or it's too much of a disjointment between the players. You have a first shot coming through and then there's no follow-up. Central Michigan feels like they're in the latter. They're not quite having enough pressure. They have a great initial shot, but sometimes a defense is competent enough to get that first save. What can you do on the follow-up is really what matters. Aquinas is getting pressure. They're getting through for their shots, but Central Michigan, I don't think we got to see that side of them in game number one. Game number two, though, underway. A lot to prove. 5 more minutes on the clock to show it.
Continual pressure will drain the boost out of the tanks, but let's see whether Central Michigan can form a comeback here. Powder out to the side, useless. Intercepts that, gets it almost into the center. Carvinus backing out of this play, preserving his boost. Brendo, they're getting the follow-up going this time, but no real shot will ring on target. Lemon clears it across, and Big Boomer going down the other end, clears it of all danger. And they need to try and convert as well. Powder, that's a free shot, attempts to pass, but actually just pass it into the hands of Brendo. Not going to be able to convert, but that's a good 50, sends it center. And here we have it, the follow-up that you were talking about, it's not there in time, and thus Powder will have an easy clear.
Yeah, but we also do see some assumptions being made by the Aquinas frontmen. They went for a pass, but there was no one present either on that pass off the backboard from Central Michigan, but the attack is still on with these higher lobs. It's something Aquinas has dealt with fairly well, but there has been some close calls on the follow-up read. No one up on this one. Brendo off the crossbar. Carbunas on the crash, and there is their first lead.
What I'm saying, first game, write it off. Forget about it. 5 shots within the first minute for Central Michigan. They're starting to feel how they need to play, to take down Aquinas, who have played a solid first game, but now they need to step it up and try and get an attack going. Lemon wanting to stay close with the play, but Stokes had the same idea in mind. Chandler's just from behind. It gives Powder a little bit of a breather. Maybe even too much time to think can be a detrimental factor. As soon as you have time to think in Rocket League, that's always when it goes wrong. Brendo, no time to think, and he does convert.
And I love these types of plays. It's so instinctual, and it's just a basic reaction. You're just trying to dive bomb it, throw it anywhere on target. But as they're going down, they might be thinking, I didn't realize that goal was as open as it really is. Nice little roller, and Central Michigan, I mean, we said there's questions to answer. Now, I want to turn that same analysis over to Aquinas. They are really locked in their half. Central Michigan doing a great job of not only getting that pressure that they showed glimpses of before, but actually being able to convert a vast majority of them.
I want to see what they might just be able to do even more for Central Michigan after losing that initial game. They kind of want to stomp the opponent, and as of right now, they're very well on track to do so as the third one flies into the back of the net. The second one for Carvinus, and this is looking very good for Central Michigan.
These are the types of plays that you really do need to be in comms for. A gentle flick up, it's not dangerous in its own right, but it makes the defender have to make a decision quickly. Do you challenge it? Do you try to play for the block? Either way, in the moment they're taking the hesitation to calculate those angles, you already have a teammate going up, knocking it by them, and the third man comes through to finish the job. Brilliant work from Central Michigan, and they're cruising the first 2 minutes, and right now it seems like they're just going to keep on going. One more pass for Useless, another open net, but will not be able to wrangle that one in.
It seems as if Central Michigan have indeed talked about what they need to do and really are starting to press Aquinas back. Put on more pressure, as you already said. I think it's kind of up to Stokes on the side of Aquinas to get it back. He's been showing himself into the attack, the willingness to try and put himself out there. But now it's Powder and Lemon combining. Stokes there to finish it up. I feel like that could have been converted earlier. It does not matter in the end.
You manifested this play right here. Lemon had a golden opportunity. If it turned a bit too sharply, they couldn't get around it, and Stokes read the situation, understood what was needed, put it right back in on that near post. A crucial goal if there ever was one. We're right before halftime. 3-goal deficit, more menacing than the simple 2-goal lead. One of the most deceptive leads in really sports or esports otherwise. And it seems like Aquinas knows it. Off the backboard, Stokes for number 2, setting up Lemon for the tap-in, and they're right back in it.
Lemon deserves this one. It pops it over the final defender. A smart touch to send it through. Not on target, but he knew that there was a teammate coming through, coming into the box, being able to finish it off, and then he says, this is mine. I set this one up all together. And that dangerous lead of 2 has just been cut down to 1. Aquinas, they're getting back into this quickly, but they can't get like this. This is a little bit sloppy in the defense, and it's Useless who converts and put the lead back at 2.
And that's such a brutal hit there for Powder to read. They're going across the goal. They're trying to drive as fast as possible to get to that back post, and then it's a slow change-up of a shot right into the ground, and it bounces over top of them. Rough thing to have, especially since you thought the momentum was starting to shift, but they're right back into a 2-goal deficit. But fortunately for them, more than enough time to do something about a flurry of goals going through here in game number 2. And it seems like both offenses are well and truly alive.
Offense is well and truly alive. They just need to try and sort out their defense, and I think whichever team is able to properly do that. Don't get me wrong, their defense absolutely not bad, but their attack is just staggering. Whichever team figures out how to counter such a staggering attack while also maintaining that offensive pressure like Useless is able to do right here, volleys it into the back of the net, and that is a goal and a half.
I love hook shots because of this. Just a gentle tap and then a wind up and an absolute slapper. 69 miles an hour going through for that goal. 3-goal lead reestablished. And Aquinas, my goodness, what do you have to say for yourselves? They are really going to take advantage of in the midfield as even more passes are going to go through, but Brendo can't quite connect on that one.
Lemon, what's the pitch? Too much power on it. Lemon almost finds this follow-up touch though. Carvinus staying close to the play. Look for that 50 on his opponent. Useless. So not a lot of boost, and this is very much an opportunity where Aquinas could just try and make the Central Michigan defense collapse. Stocked. I don't think he got a flip right there. Didn't stay with the play either way, so that flip is not going to come in handy except for on the recovery. And heading into that final minute, this might just be really tough for Aquinas.
And so right now, I'm looking forward to how they actually finish out this game. The demo play coming through will at least throw Powder back into another space of the field. So there's a wide rotations. I'd somewhat lamented about how Central Michigan was moving around. Seems to be affecting Aquinas as well. If you're pushing up, you have to make sure you're tight-knit enough on defense to be able to cover those flicks over top, but then, of course, combine through the midfield to get these shots, something Central Michigan's doing very well. Useless looking for goal number 6, will not find it, but at least the midfield play I'm loving out of Central Michigan. And right now, I think Aquinas, the team that had barely been relying on speed in game number 1, is up against, I would say, a pretty classic problem. If you're playing at speed and the other team isn't matching it, that's fine. Keep doing what you're doing. But the moment they start to match that pace, you need to be creative. You need to adapt between games. And right now, I think they're learning that lesson the hard way.
We see one of the greatest things in Rocket League, goals, I guess. Well, that's something we see as well. What I was going to say is adaptation. I think for a player to be able to get up to the highest level, they need adaptation. They need to be able to adapt to the situation at hand, and that is something Central Michigan showed here already. Aquinas, they have a chance to show it in this third game.
And so as the seconds will tick down, maybe 1 goal for the road for Aquinas, but ultimately it will not change the result. Central Michigan, they've come roaring back. A dominant win here in game number 2. A tied series is where we land.
And that's where we land. Aquinas now is the time to smack them back. As you say, it has been a relatively dominant game out of Central Michigan, getting an early lead. For a second, it was reduced to a 1-goal lead, but they took control once again. Took the game by its horns and it took it back within their own right. Now it's time for Aquinas to directly smack back, because if Central Michigan is able to continue this momentum, they might just be in a tough situation.
And I think part of the difficulties that Aquinas is dealing with is that I feel like Central Michigan, when they had the chances earlier, they were a bit more widely splayed, but they were not getting any help from Aquinas' clears. They were going out to the corner. They were going high enough that the defender on the second challenge could clear it out. But right now, Central Michigan is feasting on these balls in the midfield. There's too much of a gap, and I think if that was closed down on, we would be seeing a different scoreline, perhaps a closer affair. But games are won, or series are won, rather, 1 game at a time, and that's the thing I think Aquinas has to keep in their back of their mind. Started hot, and then we were cooled down. You have a resurgence left in you as we continue on with this series. These both teams they're evenly matched on that series score, as we had mentioned throughout the season, for a reason. Right now, it's really their chance to prove it to each other.
Useless, trying to prove it to his team as well, that maybe just put him in the main roster instead of Central Michigan. They are still playing with a sub, of course, which makes it more impressive that they were able to dominate that second game, regain their momentum, and kind of grind this game out to get back into this. Now you have that third game on your board. You need to be able to grind that one out as well. Powder smacks it to the sidewall. Can he find a second tap? It will be Carvinus. Brendo, just a tad too late. Lemon, once that follow-up, leaves it for Stock. Good call-off. Stock's had a way better hit, or at least way more forward momentum going into that. Powder off the ceiling. Actually, didn't hit it. He was expecting, he was waiting underneath it and had to back down.
It shows the value Powder's last hit, even though they didn't get the follow-up they were hoping for. It shows the value of hitting the ball into an awkward space for the defense. It might not help out the offense, but it certainly makes some sweat start to form for the defense as they struggle to deal with it, and some hesitation did in fact occur. We start to see Aquinas pushing forward, and I like to see them living a bit more on this orange side of the field, but it remains a close affair, and I think both teams, they've seen what each other can offer, and we're not necessarily seeing a more cautious approach, but I think both teams are handling the adversity better, but of course, it was only a matter of time until a cast occurs.
Absolutely. We're not seeing a more cautious approach, and well, that will hurt them in this moment. Had they been more cautious, it's incredibly hard, of course, to prepare for such a play. For Central Michigan, they will regain where they left off, and that is this game in the lead. Brendo hits it up, Stokes, nice touch on it. Will that land on target? It almost does. Finds and doesn't find the pinch into the net either. Stokes still looming in that offensive half pass in field into Lemon. Open net, but Stokes gets taken out. Now it's Powder up for the play, but useless. Proves his worth once again, and for good measure, Brendo demos Powder.
And now they have a counterattack to deal with. Aquinas, useless. One more extension, but they'll only find themselves. They're going to go past the ball. However, Brendo with another 50. Lemon, it's a sitter on the near post. Powder has to be careful with this as they're trying to get it out. Be very careful about how they do so. Stocks has no such regard for that caution. A longer clear down, and with a couple misses, Lemon has an open shot, but it can only roll it into that near post. Will remain at that 1-1 scoreline. Halftime approaching in a game number 3, and definitely the closest affair we've seen so far.
Game number 3 is such an important one. The winner of this obviously goes on to match point. Anybody who's had counting, and everybody is in college, I assume they know how to count. If you have a best of 5 after 3 games, one of these teams will be on match point already. Lemon going for the big boomer away, lobs it deep into the opposing half. Useless waiting on that sidewall. Those are difficult to read, and you have to make them, otherwise you put Carvinus in an awkward position. Powder attempts to extend the play. Brendo not going to go for a shot. Instead, it takes the long way around. Stokes steals Brendo's boost, though, and this could be an opportunity for Aquinas.
Stocks will take over with a bit of space, quickly closed by Useless. Now Powder tapping it down the field. Carvinus left alone. Early jump, and it's a sitter for Lemon. Can they get the power? Useless is back just in time. The rotation will come through for Central Michigan yet again. It's a laner in the corner. However, as I mentioned that, they have to get back as well. Some dunks coming through from Lemon, and that is why you play with fire in your own half, and sometimes you get burnt.
50-50's reigning supreme in this game. Lemon just dunking on Useless. A little bit too cool in the defense right there. Too much ice in the veins, and he will get punished. Always in defense. Just a tad bit of panic. I don't hate it. Of course, at some time, you need to be able to keep your head cool. But in a situation like that, just clear it away. Get it out of there as quickly as possible. Brendo going to be attempting to do that. Stokes very much deny that. Sends it center, or at least into the corner. Useless back into Powder. Powder whips it up high. That will still land onto the edge of the box. Lemon attempts to go underneath, but it's Useless still close to the play. Zero boost. All he can do is fake it out, I guess, and then go for a pinch. Lemon actually reading the play, pops it up high, lobs it on target. Actually, that might just arc hole in. It will barely be off target as we head into the final minute.
I love the aggression from Aquinas. However, I am starting to see my least favorite thing. Third man rushing for a play that they might not get to in time. However, if as long as it's working, it's not necessarily something they need to abandon. They just need to be careful of the counterattack potential. Brendo might have been trying for a hook shot there. They will get no such luck. It will be going back across into their half. Final seconds, and we're quickly approaching the level where the next goal might be decisive. Just a very small amount of time for any response to come in. If one does come, Powder over the top with some bumps. Aquinas getting the physical play to clear the path, but there's still just enough of a obstruction on we play with 20 to go.
I think especially right now, we are in that golden goal scenario already, even though it's not overtime just yet. It Stokes good pass in, feels Powder with an absolute ripper. Useless, almost got demoed by that ball, but he does clear it away to the side. Lemon struggling to pass it to the center, or actually he's just wasting time. Neither of his teammates are in the vicinity to try and take control. Carvinus, can he end this play with an absolute banger? Has the control to at least get it up to the side. Carvinus doesn't get the flip into the center, but it will bounce there either way, and it is overtime in game number 3.
Useless has the most oxymoronic name I've ever seen. This player is everywhere they need to be, and they're getting all the saves and the passes! Brendo plus spotted downtown, and that's the winner.
Ricochets it on target. What a redirect that is, Brendo. It takes a certain amount of finesse, and it is so lovely to see out of Central Michigan. They take the game of a phenomenal team play with a solo play to finish it all off. Oh my word, what a play that was.
And it's nice to see this kind of affirmation of their play within the game. They were under fire, and of course we mentioned it's a close game, but you see a lot of series swing like a pendulum. You get a win in the game one, and then you really get beaten back in game two, and then you try to get something back and forth, and it's just nothing going. But then this game, everything was even. Both teams practically playing chess out there, trying to figure out a way through, and Central Michigan, of course, coming through a team play, gets their winner. Well-deserved, and of course, got hurt for Aquinas. They felt like they played by that playbook. They had a brilliant pass right before overtime, and it was robbed by a brilliant save from Useless. So certainly it's a nice win from Central Michigan, but they had to earn every single bit of it, both on offense and defense.
Those shots are always so incredibly hard. Useless basically had to guess. Yes, it did go straight down the center. Useless could have guessed any other angle as well. I do not hate the shot whatsoever, and at some point you are going to have to attempt it, but what you are going to have to attempt right now is reset your mind. Unfortunate loss, move on to the next game, because you still want to be able to be on that same scoreline, be on that same series score. Michigan currently 5-0, Aquinas 4-1, and obviously they're trying to pull that equal.
And so as we move into a game, potentially a penultimate game, but ultimately we could also see the end of the road here for Aquinas as Central Michigan. They're looking to take this series 5 seconds in, and Carbunas will dime a pass across.
Brendo's got an absolute trampoline on it and a sniper as well on his car. I don't know what it is, but his redirects have been accurate, have been powerful, have been exquisite, have been lovely to watch, and I would want to see more. But for that, we might just need a game 5 Aquinas. They've got plenty of time to try and force this into a tied game.
Certainly so. Brendo showing that clinician level of efficiency. Probably a pre-med major, but we'll have to ask him afterwards. He's going to be a likely candidate for MVP, but ultimately team game coming through from Central Michigan. They're really getting it done. And even though the team plays from Aquinas have been coming through, the connection isn't there. Stocks not getting that touch, and Useless will not get the clear, so we'll settle down into mid again. Brendo, the tap across. Lemon trying another long ball, but Carbunas will attempt to get a read. It's down to Powder. A couple misses have spelled some doom before for both of these sides, but no pain will be felt this time. Another clear out, and a somewhat panicky first minute for Aquinas will settle down into a mid game.
And the dust does settle a little bit. Oh my word, as I say that, I always get cast a curse. We do manage to get away unscathed. Useless pinch that into his own corner. Carbunas has a tough read on it, does get it. Now down to the other side, and that's a good bounce. That's a fortunate bounce. Stocks on the backboard, prepared for it, sends it into the skies of the vicinity of a Lemon. Powder so staying close to the play. The first game he was incredibly defensive. He's breaking out more and more and is helping Aquinas along the way. They're managing to get a proper offense going, but Powder needs to step up on defense, does clear it up the line. Let's see whether he can get this counter-attack started. Forcing it 3-1. That might just be the end. No, a miss come through out of Useless. Stocks as tries to pick up Brendo, will land into the box, but Carbunas is the first player to the ball, and that is a great opportunity goes awry.
So longer cleared down, but some more misses. Stocks last player getting only a deflection. Now into the middle. Powder playing patient will lead way for Lemon. Useless. There's softer touch. Powder will lob this one high. Third man all the way back, so no immediate follow-up from Aquinas. The roller in the corner though, Central Michigan, they're getting lucky with no follow-ups, but they have no boost to be able to get this clear. Finally with some space, Carbunas will get past one and opt for a roller. Ultimately, this is a match of ping pong that this is developed into, as the ball will ricochet around this field, taking laps almost around the goal. Nothing too direct, and Central Michigan's first goal looking like all they need right now, but certainly they'll take an insurance. Useless will not be finding this one. Powder there on the scene just in time.
Let's see what they can do on the attack inside. Useless pops that one right back into the corner. Goes wide now, right down the other end. diagonally across the pitch. Lemon tries to snipe the angle, doesn't find it. Brendo gets past 2 for a 3, still being able to stay with this play. Edge of the box was not reached, useless. It does reach it, but it will be Lemon there to pick it up. Not enough power behind the shot, but Carvin is looking awkward. That might just be enough. Powder had the shot, but got denied by his own teammate.
And that's such a brutal part of having that communication. Sometimes you know you have the shot and maybe you don't feel the need to comment. It looked like Aquinas had the situation in tow, and the first player cuts across the play trying to force a shot unnecessarily. And that's going to be something that might come back to haunt them in the VOD review or otherwise. That could have tied things up. They're going to have to fight still from behind and only 90 seconds remaining. Could be fighting for their series life right now, so every attack matters, but Stock's going to get that cut out. Another thing to regret, potentially useless. Will pound it home for 2-0.
This is always the safe play. Just boom it to the backboard. Don't try and snipe this on target. It will always go wrong for some reason. Just place it somewhere in the vicinity. It's good enough. Useless is there to finish it off, and that might just be the end of Aquinas. They need to have a phenomenal game. The final 100 and something, less than 100. I can't do math. It doesn't really matter at this point. In the final 1 minute and 15 seconds, let's just put it like that. State it like it is. It doesn't change the fact that it needs to step up, though.
Absolutely, and every second that ticks off, there's a balance of playing patient and not rushing things, but also knowing you need to have a sense of urgency here. You need 2 goals very quickly. You may not have to send the house on every attack, but that time for patience is running thin. Right now, they just don't even have a position to get on the ball. Brendo lobbing that one high. Stocks around the bend will yield way to useless. Another touchdown, and ultimately all these clears, they're doing the job, and these shots are following suit. Another snipe from Bendo Plus, and that one might be the dagger.
That might just be the dagger or the bullet out of the sniper once again. Brendo snipes the top bins, brings the differential to 3. It was already going to be difficult with 1 minute and 23 seconds. It's going to be even more difficult with a 41 or 36 at this moment. 3 goal differential. It's not impossible. I have seen it happen before. You can't sit back in defense. At this point, you send the house, you send the kitchen sink, you send an entire mortgage at it to try and get it into the goal. Stokes, this breakaway might just lead to nothing.
So Powder will try one more attempt forward. That's not the best clear, but that follow-up was exactly what was needed. Lemon crashing in the goal, so is Stocks. It's rattling around the cage, but nothing is finding its home. It's gonna end with a shutout. Carvunas is trying to assure them of that, and one more clear down and one more goal for safe measure, but this result was known for about a minute beforehand. Central Michigan taking it 3-1.
And this is all that first game. Aquinas, they did take Central Michigan 3 straight. That third game, though, I think that was the differential maker, of course. It was an incredibly close one, but Central Michigan manages to edge it out in overtime. And then you get that momentum going into that final game, or potentially final game. Nerves will be extra high on the side of Aquinas, and then you do end up falling. Experience can go an incredibly long way in Central Michigan. They go 6-0.
And of course, it's so crucial to be able to actually look through that game and see what went awry. If you're the coach of Aquinas, what are you doing coming into that next day and looking over this VOD or the replay reviews? Like, what are the points you felt like they just fell short on?
I think it's mainly to keep on playing their own game, have someone there to try and calm them down, really. As we saw, after they lost, they kind of struggled to get back into this, or after one game, they struggled to continue that momentum. So someone there to talk to them, to keep that momentum up to pace. We saw them being able to break out of defense rather efficiently in the game that they won. After Central Michigan countered it, it seemed like they didn't really have another innovation. It seemed like they didn't have another way of breaking through, and that is ultimately what cost them.
And those plays can be so difficult because they're so close. I see all the pieces there for Aquinas. They're getting the shots off. And for the most part, rotations look fairly clean. There's just these intermittent moments where there's gaps in the play or maybe a miscommunication. I know we lamented that one play coming through from Aquinas where a player cuts in front of the third man. I think those things come from, of course, having that chemistry with your teammates and this communications. But sometimes you're just in the heat of the game. It's that trying to keep that cool head under pressure and understanding team has a better play and you need to be able to relent to them and be able to actually allow them to affect the play. But I think this still shows this team has promise. Of course, they have a good record going up to now. Unfortunately, another loss in that column, but something to grow on. Season's only halfway over, and I think this is playing the top team essentially in your division. You're going to have some mistakes, and I think at the end of the day, a growing experience for Aquinas. So nice to see that Central Michigan is going to be extending their success in the league and getting yet another dub. We're trying to get a player on the line right now for Central Michigan just to pick their brain to be able to analyze this. So we will be able to actually pick the brain of one such player, and this will be introducing the LLS hero of the game. Since 1941, LLS has invested nearly $1.3 billion in groundbreaking research, pioneering many of today's most innovative approaches. They work tirelessly to find cures and ensure patients can access the life-saving treatments they need. When someone experiences the fear and uncertainty of a cancer diagnosis, LLS provides hope, compassion, education, and support. So just like LLS is making an impact in the cancer community, the LLS hero of the game represents the player who made the biggest impact in the match played, whether it was a clutch play, a sacrifice, or provided that strong leadership when it mattered most. So today's LLS hero of the game is Carbunas from Central Michigan. We got him on the line. Carbunas, how are you feeling after that dub?
Honestly, okay, so excited but exhausted. It was my 21st birthday this weekend, so I haven't gotten much sleep.
Hey.
But we're very happy about the win.
Absolutely. That's great to hear. A great way to celebrate your 21st birthday as well, of course. And you come in here as the hero of the day, basically. I kind of did feel that you were the glue of the team. Yeah, your teammates popping off around you, and you kept it together. Is that something that you kind of know beforehand, that you know your teammates are more aggressive, so you have to keep it together at the back end?
So with Logan being our sub, because Bishop Jason couldn't make it tonight, it's actually we don't play as much, so I kind of had to play that third man back role, which I feel like that is the glue to any Rocket League game. But I think we did an awesome job. Really proud of Logan. Really proud of Logan. Useless.
And as we watched that game develop and we were looking through, I think game number 1, there was a bit of a struggle, and then you really exploded out in game number 2. Would you say game number 2 was a good rebound for you guys, or is that the game plan that you guys tried to bring out in game 1 and you just really didn't have the footing yet?
I feel like it was execution. That was our problem in game 1. We weren't controlling the ball, kept giving it away, and that leads to a boost starve, and it's just downhill from there. But I can't think right now. Oh my god.
It was a mentally exhausting series. We feel you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a simple question then, a very simple one. Do you call him Logan, or do you call him useless when you're coming in the match?
Logan. Call him Logan.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I can very much imagine if you call him
He's not useless, I swear.
That's always the biggest thing, I feel like, when you're meeting someone that you know in real life and you also know digitally. And it's like, do I call you by your tag, or do we use the real name? And I think you swap in between. But I'm glad you guys got that figured out. I do also understand it's weird when the person's name is also kind of an insult. So I think you guys chose well on that one.
Yeah.
But certainly you guys showed a good amount of fortitude in that last series. And is there any matches going forward that you see on the docket, or really within your schedule, that you are worried about going forward? Since you're about halfway through regular season, you have the eye on the playoffs. You guys have a great record. It's only gotten better after this series. Is there any game that you're maybe looking forward to, or one that's getting you a little bit nervous?
We all know the answer to this question. Akron, the Titans, really would love to take them down. That's our goal this season.
Absolutely. And obviously, before we're gonna let you go and celebrate even a little bit more, if you want to shout out anyone, you have a little bit of a moment right now to do so.
Well, obviously teammates, especially Logan. And hey, Mom.
Correct answer. Carbunas, thank you so much for sitting down with us, and enjoy the rest of your day, and happy belated birthday for yourself.
I appreciate it. You guys have a good night as well.
That was a very laid-back interview we got up here, and I think that's a good way to wrap things up. It's nice to see that after that game, we actually do see the toll sometimes of playing in games like this. That guy came in, he had a raucous weekend, and then he has to play this game, and they pull out the dub. Honestly, that's a pretty good birthday weekend.
Absolutely amazing indeed, and it's just the cherry on top. You've had a birthday. No clue what went on, of course. I'm sure absolutely lovely things the entire day. Go back and maybe even with the players that you celebrated your birthday with, you get to play on the pitch. It's team bonding, really, at that point.
And so, fortunately, we'll have plenty more action here on the NACE Starleague broadcast. Don't go anywhere. We're throwing you to a brief break, but we'll be right back with the two undefeated teams, Oakland University and the University of Kansas. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you caught your breath. NACE Starleague is back with our second match of the night. It is Oakland University and the University of Kansas facing off, two undefeated teams, but that comes to an end, at least for one of them, tonight as they face off.
Well, that's going to be so interesting. Oakland University versus University of Kansas. As you said, both of them undefeated. It will bring incredibly high stakes to both these teams, of course. And I genuinely can't wait to get into this.
And of course, one thing that to really keep in mind about these squads, that University of Kansas was a team coming through the ranks here and within NACE Starleague, playing fairly well, of course, with that 5-0 record. However, they're facing off against Oakland University. This is a team that was one series off qualifying for this fall's version of Psyonix's Collegiate Rocket League main league. This is a high-level team, not going to be an easy position for them. But of course, NACE Starleague is filled with matchups like this, where Jayhawk Esports on one side for University of Kansas. I don't know too much about them, but the amount of times, especially with Squid and I in previous weeks, and I'm sure you've had this experience, you're not entirely sure about a team, and then they go on the field, and you're like, well, I guess that's another team I'm going to have to keep my eye on.
I think I saw them pop across my feed one day, though, where they were also one game off of qualifying, where they were up 1 goal with, I think it was about 5 seconds left.
Oh no.
And yeah, and then they dropped 2 goals in a row. University of Kansas. If my memory is correct, I already can't do math, so I surely hope that my memory at least serves me right. Either which way, this is going to be a banger, and this is going to be incredibly close.
Yeah, certainly so. And of course, both these teams making that deep run. I mean, to just speak about kind of a number to put on the side of that performance, 1,000 teams across the nation sign up for those Collegiate Rocket League qualifiers, and only 12 of them actually get in. So it's an incredibly dense amount of teams that have to go in and then be able to really refine, kind of wring the towel of talent within the Rocket League scene on that collegiate level to get them into that level. So I think we're in for quite the treat here, and I think these players are not going to disappoint. I know Oakland in previous weeks of the season have been doing pretty much everything but letting me down on stream because they are just so consistent. Of course, Jay Wismont, big fan from the pro scene, so got a little edge, another aspect of collegiate sports, pro players getting into college and lending their hand to their program.
That always helps massively. Also, J-Cubed has been a former bubble player where he's been trying to make it up the ranks, not quite succeeding to the success that Jay Wismont has. It doesn't really matter because you do know the scene in and out. J-Cube very well knows how to adapt to the playstyle at hand. I would just want to see them be able to perform up to that level as well. They do want to get this game going, and they do want to try and get a sweep, of course, but University of Kansas, they're not going to allow that easily.
Absolutely not. And I think the one thing that was really key about these games is, of course, when we talked about in Central Michigan against Aquinas, those game number ones, I find that Oakland actually tends to be fairly slow. In previous weeks that we've played them, they've dropped a game or two just by looking a bit rough around the edges or not getting the finish that they really do need. And then in the latter games, they really do step up. But when they're playing against a team that's also undefeated, that's also getting all these results, then when they do get that W, it's really important for them to bring out the big guns right out of the gate. There is no room for slow starts, and we'll have to see what lies in wait for them in this first 5 minutes of game number 1.
And Ross popping it to the center. J-Cubed goes down the right flank as well. Ross getting the second taps into the hands of J-Cubed. And this is not a slow start whatsoever. It is Jay Wismont who pops the first goal for Oakland University. As you say, a slow start can be happening for Oakland. Not this time, though.
You do not want to see the blue tag J-Wiz going up for a read off the backboard, especially as you're flailing on the backfield just trying to get a save. So, fortunately, that one will go through. But, of course, if you're going to get scored on, might as well be right off the bat. Gives you the most time possible to be able to respond to it. So they'll send their response in the form of that long clear. Roz will not be troubled. MX, another follow through, and Roz will clear the path a bit for their defense with a demo in the midfield. Oakland's defense not being troubled so far, but Kansas still going to have to apply that analytics and make sure they can find a way through this staunch defense, at least right off the bat with these quick challenges.
Completely putting their car in the way of anything that Oakland try and bring at them. And they have been able to pick up the pace, pick up the pieces. And not quite here, though. Not quite here. Let's just see what happens here.
And Jaywiz sending the ball. It's not necessarily dangerous, but Spade has the worst possible bounce. They thinking it's probably going to bounce off the corner or roll up, but instead it just glances directly at them on the near post. They cannot turn around in time. J-Cube, they're not going to miss a shot from there with that type of setup. Jaywiz, I don't think they're going to miss from here, but they cut in front of it instead. Bit of a fake. I don't know how intentional that was, but Oakland certainly playing with their food at times on offense here. A lot of space to work with, and it's very fortunate now, I think, Kansas to be escaping here with only a 2-goal deficit.
Spade going from the early challenge, pinches it with Roz into the hands of J-Cube. J-Cube sends it forward. Emex getting it free, clear away. Roz 50, but EMC still break through completely. Won't be on target now. J-Cube needs to pick up the pieces. Gets it down the left side. Spade actually gets a touch on it. And University of Kansas, they are actually the ones who look like a slow burner, or at least getting into this one rather slow, dropping 2 goals. That might already be enough for Oakland to kind of sit this one out. Obviously, University of Kansas, they're not going to let this one drop easily. They do have to get more threatening opportunities on the board.
So they'll try with some awkward lobs. J-Cube doesn't deal with that the cleanest way. MX just trying to plow through the defense. They'll get past 2, but not past Roz and the post. EMC, one more tap to keep it alive. Jaywiz will call an end to that attack. Redirect attempt, no contact. J-Cube on the 50, go to the ceiling and the corner. So another clear will rain down from EMC. Kansas defense has certainly tightened up since then, but it's all about these transition plays. Can they get up onto offense and get more shots? They're actually even on the day for shooting with Oakland University, but they just lack that final venom and that final product on a lot of these advances.
You see both MX and EMC is sitting in the defensive half, or sitting in the net even. It's a bit too passive. Oakland, they are a team that are able to break out, rip a shot somewhere near that makes you panic. You will double commit at that point. I would like to see those rotations be cleared up just a bit. You see Oakland trying to constrict the movement out of University of Kansas. J-Cube to the center, gets it into the box, but MX with a missed touch will send it to the other side. Nobody expecting that miss. Sometimes a fake out is all you need. Sometimes a double tap is all you need, but then you do need to get it into the back of the net. Wismon does not manage to do so. In the end, it doesn't really matter because they are up 2 goals.
Yeah, they're kicking back in the lawn chair. They're relaxing. They have the 2-goal lead. They don't need to push things, but of course the best defense sometimes can be a nice offense. However, they do keep eyes in the back of their head. Jaywiz almost let that settle, and it was nearly dunked in for 1 goal back for Kansas, but they will have to keep searching. These longer balls from Oakland, not making it easy. It's requiring a lot of boosts just to be able to challenge some of these touches. MX, no touch. EMC with a whiff, and Jaywiz will hit another one out into the corner. Got only 60 seconds remaining for Kansas to try to get something on the board.
Even though this game has felt Oakland University in the attack the entire time, actually Kansas have more shots. Once they do break out, they are able to rip a shot on target, make Oakland panic, forcing out 3 saves. Now another one will be a ringing through. Jay Wismon. It's not the hardest save, but it is one you have to make. It is always those. If you have a save you make 99% of the time, there's still that 1%, and you do need to clear out that 1%, especially at this moment. 30 seconds remain, and Kansas needs to be hunting for a goal.
Spade is trying to pass it across. We have a 1-2-3 passing play in the mix, but 3 will not be there in time. So Raz starting over with an air dribble. Can they get one more touch to J-Cube? They will not, and the weak touch by J-Wills will tee up MX. With 10 seconds remaining, 1 goal is enough for a comeback attempt, and MX will bury it when it matters most.
Nicely trickles it on into the back of the net. Raz was going for the in and out, decided against it. Good decision that he decided against it. He didn't have enough boost left to get back into the play. Now this kickoff needs to be exquisite, needs to be phenomenal, and needs to work in the favor of Kansas. They do get it to a teammate, and that shot will easily be cleared away. Push that to the side by JQ. EMC pushes that forward, and Raz very simply going to spike this down. They don't want to take any chance on the side of Oakland.
And of course, this is a classic kind of circumstance from Oakland where you had the lead, and then you're playing around with it, maybe getting a touch, and then the other team scores. You're thinking to yourself, okay, now it's time to be business. I think Oakland, if that was still 2-0, we'd see Raz clearing it up, maybe go for a third goal, but as you said, they're taking no chances. That's just spiked right to the ground. Okay, we got our dub. Let's take it a little bit more seriously. And a nice reminder there from Kansas University. Yes, they had more shots. They were getting forward, and they just weren't finishing it. So maybe Oakland didn't see them as much of a threat. But the moment they get a wide open opportunity, a giveaway in the midfield, that comes the scoring opportunity. It's a nice little reminder right at the tail end that this is still a series. And as well as you execute in the front half of the game, it has to be consistent all the way through.
Exactly. Getting into that second game is where Oakland are going to have to prove themselves once again. You had a phenomenal start, one of the best starts that you can get, 2 goals up within a minute or so. I don't think they're going to be able to do it again, but they don't need to. They just need to grind this game out and get to the end unscathed, or at least outscore your opponents. I think they're able to do so, but Kansas, they are lurking, they are looming, and they are threatening to score a goal rather soon.
And so as we go into game number 2, Kansas, my eyes are on them to see that type of response. What adjustments are you making between the game? Pretty much everyone readied up immediately for this match, so they're rearing and ready to go. How much analysis really brought into that, who knows? But game number 1's are warm-up games for a reason. Ooh. And Jay Wismont, they're perfectly toasty right now.
That is absolutely amazing. Nicely spiking it into the back of the net. The misread coming through from Kansas, and you know Jay Wismont is not going to misread that. Place it into the back of the net. And Oakland, once again, within 15 seconds, are already in the lead. Spade flicks it past one. Jay Wiz back in defense. Spade, it's a 50, but Roz, second player to the ball. Clears up the backboard. Spade back into the hands of EMC. EMC with a ripper double commit force out of Oakland. They do get the clear, but will they get the second clear? They don't need to because MX missed the shot.
MX seemed to almost rush that shot, thinking they had less time than they did. Spade is not taking a chance on this, but as the third man back, there's nobody home for the rolling clear. Jay Wismont, not as spectacular as goal number 1, but they all count the same.
This was so funny. We see the entire side of Oakland tripping, bumping over each other. And for the side of Kansas, they see that as well. They, oh my word, what is going on here, Oakland? Let me just score real quick. Last man commits. One player actually didn't get bumped, and they put it into the back of the net. Oakland, they once again have a lead. Let's see whether they are going to go with that possession play. They have done it in that previous game as well, where they don't put on any attacks that much anymore. They don't necessarily try and score that much. They just try and hold out this game, bring up a nice little comfortable lead, and try and play off of that. But Kansas, they're hunting for that goal back. They're hunting for at least one on the board, and that's a good infield pass. Spade converts, and University of Kansas are back within 1.
That's why that square pass infield is so incredibly important. EMC gets that. J-Wiz getting bumped. J Cubed is on the backboard waiting for the hit, and it comes into the middle. It will be slotted beautifully. Kansas, they've still got those talons. They can really do some damage. Have to make sure you close down that space. Open getting yet another reminder. How about another one? EMC past the last defender. MX on the open goal, and EMC, the one who started it all, gets the equalizer.
Gets the equalizer, and here you see the possession play out of Oakland. You can't go for that. Just keep on scoring goals. Just keep on extending your lead. Kansas, they're not allowing that whatsoever, though. They say to Oakland, oh, you try and waste time a little bit? Oh, you try and go for possession play? You're going to give us space? No, that's not going to work. Holding out usually does not work in Rocket League, and the reason for that is that you start playing differently than the reason you got up to the lead in the first place. The reason you usually get up is just not allowing Kansas to break out enough, and this might just be another such scenario. And instead, Oakland are actually given this time and space, but not anymore.
That's such a tough read from Kansas. They're just on the back post enough is Spade that this shot comes in. It is wide, but they can't tell. They have to dive at it. And then it's so tantalizing. It goes to the bumper as it bounces off the post right into the waiting bumper of Jay Wismont. Hat trick for them, and still plenty of time to stat pad that line. Kansas right back to square one. They have a deficit to fight against, but this is a lot more confident than we saw in most of game number 1. They're here to play in game number 2 in the slow play, showing that they're adding deception into their wings. Nice pass in the middle, though, and they'll cut out just in time by J Cubed.
J-Cube got the save. I was going to say that after about 2 minutes of play, J-Cube has managed to hit the ball a total of 3 times. That is a phenomenal spike up by Jay Wismont. Raz to be able to to spike it down as well, but not into the back of the net. Spade is there to dig that one out of the net. Spade on the other end. Gets that past J-Wiz. Roz nicely behind. Good rotation out of Oakland. Pre-jump even coming through. Way too high, though, and now they need to be careful on the defense. Going for a freestyle play with 1 goal up. That's just crazy.
This is the confidence that Oakland brings out. They want to have fun on the field, and they trust each other. It's that chemistry that allows them to go for these things. The problem is when it doesn't work out, you might see some penalties being inflicted on you on the counter attack. Kansas not up to snuff on that first look, so let's see if they get another one down the stretch. Spade into the corner. J-Cubed just will glance it across, and EMC will send MX on his horse. Raz with the half rotation will cut it back and go back into midfield. Demo play, such a staple of so much of Oakland, but that time they were the one that lost their life on that challenge. So I guess we'll just see them go back to square one, but we've really settled down in this game. There's the longest stretch we've seen without a goal in some time. And I think it's going to take something special to be able to break that next threshold, especially for this Kansas offense.
EMC, zero boost, just has to do something. You can't stay close to the play, you will give up possession, so you just hit it forward. Oakland, they knew that, they read the play. Jay Wismont now to the center. JQ whiffing the ball. Not going to get a 2-goal lead on the board once again. Spade into the skies he goes. Raz with an early challenge, shuts it down. Jay Wismont back in defense, has to face MX in the 50. MX wins that massively, sends it into the edge of the box, but Jay Wismont nicely rights his wrongs. Raz backflipping as Jay Wismont up to the play once again, goes across the court time and time again to try and fix every single ball that gets left hanging. And as we head into the final minute, University of Kansas, it is do or die.
And that's a great way to get set up. EMC get hold of Jay Wismont into action. J-Cube swooping in for the save. So close for the Jayhawks, but they're going to have to go wanting. 40 seconds remaining. I don't know if they're going to get a better opportunity than that, but they can sure try with Jay Wismont cutting out yet another one. A setup to Raz too far away. So both teams struggling with their passing plays. 30 seconds remaining. Kansas, do you have it in you to prevent Oakland from going up on that match point?
Oakland at match point is incredibly scary to go up against, so you need to try and prevent that right here, right now. 15 seconds on the clock to try and do so. JQ passing that is way too far forward, gives up possession to Kansas. MX across one. JQ this time back in defense, still into the hands of Spade. Spade goes for the shot. JQ on the clear away, and that will be game number 2 going into the favor of Oakland University, but incredibly close.
And it seems like Kansas is building on every single game. They're getting closer and closer to be able to actually find that last step, that really clinical finish that they need. But even on that last play, sometimes you get blinders on. It looked like a pass was on in the middle. You could be able to set up a teammate, but they went for the shot mixed with a bump play, and it just didn't quite find its way through. Oakland will kind of skim by this game, get a nice win. J-Cubed had that miss down the stretch that could have put it out of reach, but ultimately Kansas is doing just enough to keep it close, and unfortunately that is not enough. So they will have to go to game 3 on match point, having to engineer a reverse sweep to take this series.
The problem that Kansas keep on facing is these first 30 seconds where they just concede 1, maybe 2 goals against Oakland. Gives them a massive advantage, and then Oakland can play a little bit more laid back at this time. At least not 7 seconds in, it will not be the opener. Spade across the other end. Raz booming down that right-hand side. EMC pops it high up. And JQ pass into Jay Wismont. Jay Wismont not going to be reaching this ball. Has to back down. Raz takes control, gets it center. It box. It will be reaching. This counter attack from Kansas is not going to work out.
Talked about that possession play from Oakland, trying to keep it close, trying to pick out a teammate. It seems like Kansas was attempting to do that, but instead of lobbing it into the middle for a teammate, they just threw it downfield. It's appropriate in situations like that where you're just trying to beat out that last defender to the backboard. I would like to see a bit more patience going forward from Kansas, at least right now. Doesn't seem like they need it. They're just going for the jugular on every single one of these hits. Oakland is dealing with it for right now, but it has been getting a bit sketchy at times as Raz will try one more hit, a play out of the playbook of Kansas, but will be turned away, and EMC will have another one out to mid.
EMC, great pace on that play. Raz able to intercept after EMC was not able to stay incredibly close. That's a good pass into the center. Nobody there. JQ versus EMC in a 1v1 scenario right now. JQ tries to fake it out, then forces a 50. Raz is right there as well, but MX close to that gap nicely. Jay Wismont up to the plate now, has to step up. EMC shuts him down directly. J-Cube still in the vicinity to try and extend this play. Raz also close. Ball land in front of the net, but Jay Wismont just a tad too late. Oakland, they're up in the thrusters though. Raz had to get a touch, did indeed do so.
And Jay Wismont will be able to salvage it, but the follow-up touch isn't there. MX did not expect it. It will only go into J-Cube. Another tap down. Raz, a gentle tap. That's not going to be good enough. And same with the shot. Spade will only be able to lob it. Seems like Kansas, when they're trying to move forward, they don't even anticipate some of these touches from Oakland. Even if they're not necessarily the cleanest, Kansas is just not there to be able to put it away. But can't lament too hard on those missed opportunities. They're in this game, they're keeping it close, and the scoreline is still level right before halftime. Very curious to see, as you've seen a fairly clean game here. These rotations are good enough to keep the goals out on either end. At what point are we going to start to see physical play?
Physical play might just be needed to break up that rotation out of Oakland. There's the demo, but J-Cube with a free touch actually gets a shot off target according to the game, but Spade absolutely no trouble clearing that away. Jay Wismont, that's an awkward touch. EMC able to take control. J-Cube doesn't make the read, and then it will be MX breaking through. In Kansas, they've been able to hold on the initial phase and are now opening up the score.
And I really sympathize with the touch that Jay Wiz is trying to get on the sideline. They backflip it just to hold it in place, allow their teammates to get back, but unfortunately, all they do is tee up that player on the sideline. A brilliant pass. J-Cube is in no man's land on that near post. There's nothing they can do about that read except for jump and pray, and sometimes these prayers don't get answered, and they will fall behind. University of Kansas, really the emphasis, I would say, has been on their offense. What can they do to answer back against Oakland? But now it's all on the defense. Can you last out against this attack for another 2 minutes?
It's going to be hard, but it is going to be a challenge that they have to face, and this makes it a lot easier, doubling their lead with still the same amount of time remaining. Oakland, they might just be thinking about this a tad too easy.
So another example of Kansas getting set up with a shot attempt and burying it. I'd like to see the consistency starting to come through, and they're starting to throw up shots from deep and getting a response. Oakland, unfortunately, will not be able to do the same, so they'll have to deal with yet another counterattack. Raz out into the sideline. EMC send it right back in the mixer. Do they have a double? J-Wiz will make sure we cannot find out. Spade another hit. EMC, what a redirect for 3!
That is so subtle, yet so beautiful. EMC in the perfect position, turns in, hits it past, and that will certainly, or at least so you'd say, be the game locked up for Kansas. But with 94 seconds remain, Oakland, they have been able to generate goals at a rapid pace. This will land into the weight of Raz, who's also in the way is J-Cube. J-Cube gets it into the back of the net, and all of a sudden the differential is 2. With only 5 seconds or so off that clock.
And fantastic challenge from Raz. It doesn't seem like they're going to get a lot of glitz and glamour for that setup, but they knew they didn't have a read, they didn't have a hit past them, so what they do, they just make themselves large, throw it into the ceiling, a dangerous position for their teammates to crash the net, and they do. Some light at the end of the tunnel, the sweep might be on the table still, so long as Oakland can keep this efficiency up. 80 seconds remaining, one more pass in, and J-Wiz absolutely robbed by MX at the last second save.
Raz still tries to de-rob, or at least tries to get his possession back. He assumes it's his possession. Now Jacob has to go all the way back on the rotation. This is costing a lot of time, and that's all that University of Kansas care about, wasting time. Getting those seconds of the clock, punching it away, and slowly sitting out towards their retirement. Raz missing the ball actually allows an avenue for Jay Wismont. Jay Wismont pops it past one. And J-Cube needs to keep it into the attack. J-Cube pass into Jay Wismont, and that is not going to lead to anything. This shot might just do so. Spade panics and hits it up high. J-Cube back into the box. Jay Wismont nicely snipes at the right corner, and this is very doable.
And this starts with Spade getting an inopportune touch, but good job on J-Cube just to put it at enough on target that it's going to bounce in a dangerous position. Jay Wismont picking their spot to perfection, right past the goalies, and the comeback is well and truly on. 3-2 with 36 seconds remaining. Kansas, do you have the composure to remain in that lead? It seems like they've done so well for so long. It'd be so devastating if they're not able to hold on down the stretch.
would be incredibly devastating, but I'm pretty sure that they have faced that kind of loss before, and they might be used to it. Jay Wismon pops it up high. Raz takes that out to the side, gets the boost. J Cubed gets the ball, pass into his team, or at least an attempt to pass Jay Wismon. Nice free ball, gets it to the backboard. MX and blocks it with his car, of course. Now Jay Wismon back into the center. All they need to do is get this to the ground. Rozzy panics and he will hit it forward out of the hands of Oakland, and that is University of Kansas getting a game on the board.
It was shaky at times, but the job is done, albeit right up until the end. It was lingered in that corner, but it does hit that ground, getting that dub for Kansas. So no sweep on the boards today, but they have to be so incredibly mindful of the fact that their offense was getting better. The defense at times still questions asked of them that they didn't quite have the touch on. Too many giveaways, and Oakland, of course, going to eat those up.
Especially in this final 90 seconds where they had a 3-goal lead. They got incredibly close to giving it away. That doesn't bring momentum. That brings instability going into the next game. Makes you doubt yourself just a bit. But that tiny bit might just manifest itself in your head. It will grow bigger and bigger. And anytime you're in the lead, you might just think in the back of your head, we could just give this away very quickly. And then Oakland are a team that capitalizes upon that.
And I think right now the main thing that I'm looking for out of Oakland is get back to that passing play. I didn't see them, I think, somewhat putting on the serious cap and understand that, yes, we're going for some pre-jumps and some fantastical plays and just trying to get creative. But now they're really up against it. They still have their series lead. Next game win would win them the series, but it's not about fun and games anymore. It's about actually putting those goals away. You have to clean out these series, protect that game record, but more importantly, getting the series win at the end of the day. They're not going to make it easy on Kansas. They got a fresh 5 minutes and a brand new game of the series to try to prove themselves, close out this series, and extend that winning record.
They've got a fresh 5 minutes. Jay Wismon, and they're going to be trying to get the lead once again within the first few seconds and potentially hold it out. But Roz, he's at least not going to be the goal scorer in this scenario. Spade attempts to take it across. Shut down by Jay Wiz. MX, quick challenge. Denies the pressure. EMC now up for the play. Jay Wismon nicely stays on the line. No doubt in his mind that he's going to save that. Spade out to the side once again. J-Cube looking for that follow-up. Has enough boost to send it to the center. Roz is there to catch it. Booms it to the backboard. EMC not getting a touch on that. Has to trust MX for the clear away. And that is good enough.
And another longer touchdown. J-Wiz will lead way for Roz to take over. J-Cubed. Lob downfield. Nothing too dangerous. And EMC will more than deal with it. They get past 2, but not past J-Wiz. Air dribble. Pass 1. Spade, a temporary tap out. J Cubed, a deflection off the corner. Roz quickly up for it. It's on target, but no pace, and another clear down. Jay Wismon, last defender. Can they get the save? They will. EMC might want that one back. It was right down the middle. Both sides exchanging some punches, but no blood drawn.
This is so unfortunate. Jay Wismon cleared 2 players for free. J Cube still there for the shot this time. J Cube committed right underneath the play, and that kind of mitigated or negated all the damage that Jay Wismon has done. He cleared 2 players, and then 2 players committed to that same play afterwards. Kansas, they got away there with a little something. J Cube backflipping out of the play. MX having Jay Wismon just more huge, just went to the gym, more forces it through. Roz, they're going to be able to shoot that on target and has to leave it to EMC.
J-Wiz, longer clear back. Spade on the back post will lob it up. MX will be set up nicely and will throw it into the midfield. J-Cubed trying to throw it right back on offense. Spade needs to get up quickly. J-Wiz is lurking. A good deflection into the corner. Roz, are they going for the pass? They're going to go for that back post, and they will place it perfectly.
Perfectly tosses it into the far corner. That long car proving to be worthwhile here. MX full boosting towards it, could not turn in time, and Kansas, they drop a goal. They're not sure able to bring that back, of course, maybe even with this kick of EMC out to the side. J-Cube on the wrong side of it, has to back down, and that will lead to him being on the defense. Panicked because MX was on his heels. Spade with a good challenge, whilst now also in an awkward position. J-Cube has to bail him out of that awkward position. EMC was still with a shot. J-Cube with a pre-jump. They're not out of the woods just yet. They are still under pressure. Spade getting that to the backboard once again. Jay Wismon and is able to get a touch. EMC nicely intercepting And that might just be the force through. No, Ross is there.
They're doing a good job, Oakland, of cutting out these passes. I just don't know how many more times they can get a last-second save on a wide-open pass before Kansas will bury one. I guess the question is whether they can keep replicating that win the final 2 minutes. That's really all they need, this one goal lead, to be able to last. And touches like that, though, do make me worry. MX nearly jumping on it. EMC going from downtown. J-Cube, not an ideal touch. Raz has to race for this one. Spade will beat them to it, but it'll lob past absolutely everybody. MX will just try and throw something forward, but it will find no teammate. Touches like that will make sure that they relinquish pressure, and Oakland will be more than gracious for it. Definitely closest to fair we've seen so far. Both sides getting good looks at goal, and Oakland just living on a prayer on a 1-goal lead.
MX might just be able to mitigate that 1-goal lead and diminish it to 0 out to the side. Spade looking for that short 0 boost, not going to be able to reach the second one, and also driving between all the boost pads. Ross, great speed on that attack, on the counter attack, and Oakland University are up 2-0. Kansas, they were hunting, they were aggressive, and they were too aggressive.
That's what happens when you're trying to push forward and you're getting that goal. You have to really play on this balancing scale. What do we have to press up? Do we have to make sure we prioritize defense? And oftentimes when you are so splayed out, everyone is to the far reaches of the map to try to cover as much ground as possible. It comes down to essentially a one-on-one on each play, and sometimes you will get flicked into an open net. Oakland, nice insurance goal, 2-goal lead with 60 seconds is something that Kansas has really struggled with before, and my goodness, is this mountain even getting taller?
We can see this bounce go in perfectly back into the center. We can expect it. Once you're in the play, once you have to make that split-second decision where your cam is in the wrong way, you can't quite see the wall, it turns, you see it, it is too late, it bounces back. Your teammates are also not prepared for a phenomenal save, and Ross leaps it across the net, just slightly pushes it over. Ross still staying close to the play, but with 50 seconds remain, this might just be a game over, especially when you're double committing like that. J-Cube actually takes control instead of just scoring another goal, and it seems like Oakland are feeling comfortable.
And at this point, it's just about wasting time. You can throw the ball away as much as possible as long as you are cutting out the counters from Kansas. And right now, with low boost, Oakland is opting just for some 50s. J-Wiz being soft touches in the corner. EMC almost waiting for that boost to spawn. They're so low. So Oakland will take a nice little lap around their half and continue on with J-Wiz attempting a back pass. Deflection going straight on target. A double commit is enough for Oakland. Get another save. Not that they need it. They bled enough time off the clock. Jay Wismont faking out everybody, colliding with his teammates, and they're just having fun. They've won this series as this ball hits the ground.
And they won this series probably in one more game than they would have wanted it to. But Kansas, they deserved that game. They fought hard for it, and they kept it close every single time until they conceded, and that's where they started to lose control. That's where Oakland just was able to up the pressure, and it really made Kansas struggle.
And it's a very interesting series, but also kind of a reaffirmation of Oakland thinking coming into this game. I think they're the more well-known program, at least within the esport of Rocket League on that collegiate level, and they struggle. They kind of falter a bit, but they were, in a way, a slight change from what I usually expect. I would say they started out a little bit slow in previous series, but this one, they came right out of the gates, but then the response from Kansas, impressive as it was enough to give them trouble, but ultimately just not quite enough. And I think that's a somewhat of an illustration where you have these teams competing at the top. What makes some of these programs good is even when they do struggle, and it seems like it's not a decisive win, that more often than not, they are pulling out these tough series.
And the mentality in Rocket League is incredibly important. One of the most important, if not the most important part of the game, is able to keep a clear head and accept your mistakes. If you make a mistake, such as Oakland, let's say in that third game that they did drop, just brush it off. Say what mistakes you made. Be blunt about it. Be real with yourself. Because at a point where you start to feel, oh, we're the best, and they're just getting lucky, that's where it gets out of hand. That's where you're not able to improve as much anymore because you don't recognize your own mistakes anymore.
And that self-awareness, of course, is so important. In the previous weeks, we had actually talked to Luby on the University of Texas at Dallas, a team that has historically been at the top of the collegiate scene, especially in Western conferences, for a long time. And one of the biggest things after they reverse swept St. Edward's, another undefeated team when they had played, is essentially asking them, were you down after that game when you were down 2-0? Like, what were you thinking about? And basically, they were just saying, it's fine. They're only individual games. We know we're good. We know what our problems were, and we know how to fix them. And you just move on. And it's just that a simple mentality. It sounds so obvious, but of course, it's such a difficult thing to actually capture and train within these different kind of ecosystems of playing with new teammates, playing in a certain system, playing a certain play style. It's just nice to see that the players at the top really do have that mentality. And to really pick their brain further about it, we do have J Cubed on the line from Oakland University after their victory. J Cubed, my friend, how you feeling?
Oh, we're absolutely gutted. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. Our IM game got canceled. Right after
Oh no!
this. So we're just completely upset, to be honest. Like, we were looking forward to it. Everyone on the Rocket League team's on the same team. We all played together, plus some others from our school, and we were just looking forward to it. And now it's not happening anymore. So, but we're excited with the win. We're continuing to hopefully keep the undefeated streak. So we're looking to keep that going.
Absolutely. And we were talking about mentality. You say that you play together in a soccer match with all these players already. Does that bring a different kind of dynamic than any other team you've ever played in on the pitch?
I think we really do have a really high chemistry between each other. We talk together a lot all the time. We play different games together. We do so much together, and it really does help on the field and off the field performance. And it really does help, getting, good results in, tournaments and everything. It really just helps with the chemistry.
I mean, you have, we talk about the systems at play within esports programs and some philosophies they have, the staff support. But Oakland, you guys have quite a lot on display. Of course, you have a nice premier team that we just got to watch on the Rocket League pitch. But overall, Oakland, I mean, you have an esports center. I believe you're sitting in one right now that you're playing in with your team. And so having that, a lot of support from the university and, of course, being able to spend that much time with your teammates, do you feel like that really does benefit you having so much support from the university to be able to influence your program?
Oh, having the backing of our university is great, really. We have so many resources at our hand, to be able to use, and it's just, being able to use those resources, to help our game get better. It shows results. I mean, we almost made CRL, just yesterday. So, I mean, like, without those resources, I don't think we would have gotten as far as we did. So, yeah, it's definitely a huge help from, everyone on the staff at Oakland University and just everyone. So.
Absolutely. Just to go back to the series for a second, coming into this, I assume you obviously wanted to sweep, considering you had a soccer game to go to afterwards. How did you react? Did you talk it through with your team after you lost the game, or what was the scenario within the voice chat?
So we found out mid-game, that third game specifically, we found out mid-game that our game was canceled. So we kind of got I guess our mentality went down, because honestly we were all looking forward to it, so it really just put our mentality down. And then we started getting scored on once, twice, 3 times, and then we're like, oh, we actually got to try and win this game, bring it back. And then so a little too late, I guess, on that. So yeah, but I mean, in the end, we showed our true performance, I think, in games 1, 2, and 4. So.
And when you're looking at these games and going through with getting these dubs, you guys are continuing to be undefeated within NACE Starleague. And looking forward, now that you're really past that halfway point, looking into the playoffs, you're going to be playing a lot of different teams, different conferences. Are you guys at that point with that chemistry and the style of play getting so close, as you mentioned, to CRL, which I was lucky enough to actually call and watch you guys go through that run? Where are you guys thinking about that next obstacle? Are you guys a team that truly believes you can make it all the way to that distance, that grand final? Or is there any teams that you're somewhat, I would say, optimistically nervous about playing against?
I really do truly think that we can make it, to the grand finals. It really all comes to how much practice and how much, how well we perform on the day. I think, honestly, any team could always bring a challenge, regardless whether it's your Northwoods, your Akrons, or, whoever, right? I mean, I honestly haven't been keeping track of, like, who specifically is in NACE, itself, in our league and all that. So, But I mean, in general, there's a lot of screaming going on. I don't know what it is here, but yeah, I mean, any team can always bring a challenge to us, but as long as we perform on the day, I think we can beat anyone and we can be number one for sure.
Just one last question out of me. Once you do get further into the league, once you get further into the playoffs, is that a moment where you find more motivation to try and find the game out again?
100%, without a doubt. Definitely. Once you get further into the bracket, and I think at least for me personally, playing against better teams and playing against better teams and better players allows me to play better. And it's just something that I think we as a team also know how to do better. We're able to, I guess, pick up our pace whenever we need to or slow it down. We're able to adjust our play style as needed. So yeah, I think that, further in the bracket is where you see a lot better of a team come out of us.
And it's lovely to see out of you guys. And of course, getting that another dub, nice to see. And of course, thank you so much for sitting down with us. Any shout outs you want to give before we let you get back to your evening?
I mean, we could shout out the guy that's just behind me as Raz, and Jay Wiz went to our game already, or practice now, I should say. So, shout out to everyone at Oakland here. They really do support us. We have the Smash team here and the Overwatch team here, and they all really do support us. And it's, it's always good to have that support.
All right, thank you so much, JQ. I'm so sorry about your game, but hey, you got a nice dub. You're still undefeated, and I can't wait to see you play a little bit further down in the season.
Thank you guys so much. Much love.
So as we transition out of that, Furio, our matches, now we got 2 down. We got 1 more to go. We have Eastern Tennessee State University at 4-1 facing off against Tulsa University. Excited to see how that one ends. And I'm sure our audience is as well. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the last Rocket League collegiate matchup for NACE Starleague up next. going to do it one more time, everybody. We got one more match, 2 down, and we have this last one to go. It is Eastern Tennessee State University against Tulsa University. Both teams 4-1, so hit a little bit of a stumble down the stretch, but still in their winning ways and looking to continue things here.
And they'll have a stumble somewhere along the way, and we said it earlier tonight, that should be a learning moment. I really hope that they were able to take a learning moment out of that and come back stronger today. But unfortunately, one of these teams are going to face another loss and go to a 4-2 record. It will be unfortunate, but that's the way Rocket League goes.
And at least right now, these teams are in a nice position. As we had mentioned, this is League Play Week number 6, and only a select number of teams will be going through on that playoff bracket. So important to get every single win, and especially in these matchups when you're playing against the 2 and 3s, the 1 and 5s. If you take a loss there, yes, it does affect your standings, but at the end of the day, it's very rare that you'll get that opportunity to match up with the player that, or rather the team that is in direct competition for that top spot. And that's really the situation that Tulsa and Eastern Tennessee State really find themselves in. This is the chance to really put your boot on top of them, lift yourself up, and really declare to yourself that, no, this division that you're trying to compete in, it's ours to take.
And put yourself above your direct competition. Right now, Tennessee and Tulsa, they have the exact same record. They are direct competition. And getting a win over the other one will give you the head-to-head advantage, will give you obviously a record advantage. It's a massively important one on the board here today, and they just need to keep the nerves. It is getting later, of course, also for them, but I'm sure they'll still be able to fully focus up for this final series of the evening.
And so as we see our final series on, we've seen a lot of different storylines emerge. We saw earlier on a team kind of stumble a bit down, but then get that win in game number 1 between Aquinas and Central Michigan. Then Oakland coming through. Again, a team that you would expect to really do well. The more notoriety-based team does pull out that victory, but these two teams coming out of left field, trying to make a name for themselves, trying to poke their head above the crowd of Collegiate Rocket League, and they got 5 minutes of potentially plenty more to be able to make that case.
Panzler already getting into the attack. This initial opening phase of the game, we already saw it in the previous series, can bring you basically the entire game already. Oakland pre-showed that, or showed that to us twice in a row. Prime missing the ball here. Uses all his boost to do so. Good infield pass with does Blake. Blake goes for a shot from distance. BML gets it, the clear out. Prime now looking for the shot, almost places it underneath, but Panzer with a good block on it. 100 boost. The takeoff, not necessarily what he was looking for. Blue is able to intercept Blake to the center, just sent the tad too far wide. Prime is able to catch it.
Panzer will play some nice possession. I like what I see. BML trying to go a bit more direct with a lob. Now off the ceiling, but it'll only find Das Blake. Back post play. Panzler is there in time. And certainly a lot of efforts being thrown on target by Eastern Tennessee, but nothing actually finding its way through. The defense is holding. It's refreshing to see this, especially since Oakland was having really just going off, having a riotous amount of time on offense, just scoring right off the bat. So it seems like this is truly a brand new series. We're going to have to wait for something spectacular, potentially. BML, unfortunately, can't open us up with a clip, but it turns into a beautiful pass.
He almost blocked his teammate's shot as well. We do see him jump off the backboard here. Instantly realize, oh no, wait, I'm about to jump in front of my own teammate's shot. Let me back out real quick. But this opening phase for Tulsa has been nerve-wracking. They already have 5 saves on the board, 5 shots out of ETSU. And Tulsa are the first ones to score, maybe even the second ones as well. Grizz off the sidewall, nice control. Almost gets it past one. A tad too close to the play still. Panzer forward, BML. He didn't watch those earlier games, otherwise he surely would have been able to redirect that on target. Blue gets past one, and that will be the end of his clearance.
And BML will only be able to put that one off the ceiling, so Panzer will race to the ball, but it's ultimately just a roller downfield. Grizz will put something more substantial on target to this corner. The pass will go. Whiff goes into BML. They have a great shot, and it will be followed up by a fantastic save from Blue. On their horse now, trying to move the ball upfield. They will find their teammate, Das Blake, unobstructed on the sideline. Can they pick a pass? They're going to go for the slow play. It's right into the waiting bumper of BML. Back and forth we go, still waiting for that go-ahead goal as we're quickly approaching halftime.
Oh, that's a nice shot. Just a pirouette right underneath. Grizz does it for start. Grizz does it for whatever reason, but he does score in the end. Good boomer, 105 kph, and I don't think that was touched by the defense. Tulsa showing exactly why this can be such a ETSU is hungry right now as well.
And right now, that's a tough goal to give up, especially because it feels just so simplistic. They're going down the middle. They're just setting up a lob into a flick, but the delayed flick almost coming through from Tulsa, just shaking things up. And especially now that they have a 2-goal lead, ETSU has been finding mild success moving forward, but now it's not about just getting that opening goal. You need to really mount a full-fledged comeback to not drop game number 1. Some of these touches are going well for them, but it's about what comes afterwards. How about a third man? No one there. Prime left alone on the attacking half. We'll have to relinquish control over to BML, who'll carry it over.
BML, good follow-up touch. Panzer actually forces it through. Did he get a ceiling reset? Doesn't matter because Grizz is right through the center, rips it all, and then drives it completely on the ground. No fancy mechanics whatsoever, and yet another one of those goals. That's just really simple.
That's a tough one from Prime. Last defender back. They're coming in to the goal, but then out of the corner of their eye, they know a bump attempt is going through, so they try to multitask. Can you dodge the demo driving into the goal and then turn around just in time to get the save? The answer is unfortunately no. They cannot get back to it, and it's a tap in, as we saw from Tulsa University. And now that slight lead that they were able to etch out is being really driven into a huge chasm between these two teams. 5 shots from ETSU, none of them troubling, and Tulsa being almost the pinnacle of efficiency, shooting 75% from the field.
Just absolutely exquisite Tulsa. With the way that this matchup has been playing out, you wouldn't expect them to be up 3-0 purely because they have been on defense the majority of the time, and that's the beautiful thing about this game. If you send an absolute rocket towards the attack, it will make Blue struggle, but not enough for it to force a goal. Blue still staying close to the play. Panzer turning in, cutting in rotation, but it's going to work out. Blake, a little bit awkward. 54. Grizz has another ground shot, rips it up high this time. BML again going to back out of that commitment. Panther surely takes this first stroll back to his own corner. BML actually takes over, but Blake now has an angle to shoot at, and they can't get it into the back of the net. The counter-attack looming. Blue shuts it away.
Prime trying to find that pass. I like the idea. Just wasn't that final product that they were hoping for. Another out of deflections. Grizz into Blue. Another exchange across, but BML will catch. Prime rushing the play. Demo from Blue will open a bit of space for Das Blake, but that catch left a lot to be desired. Right now, even just trying to get a to-go bag, really, the goal from ETSU side of Eastern Tennessee, they are not able to break through. The contact continues to be lacking. Another sitter in front of net. It's only going to roll, and another clear from Tulsa, just top to bottom. Tulsa is taking care of business in game number 1.
It doesn't matter necessarily for who this game would go to because Tulsa have got this one locked up. It's just yet another one of those games where ETSU are going to be looking at it like, oh, come on, game, give us something. And that will lead on to awkward momentum where you feel like you should be doing a lot better, but you just aren't. And then it can be a bit ambiguous where that mistake necessarily lies. And I think ETSU, the most important part is stick to your game plan and try and be more accurate.
Absolutely. And part of that is that, of course, being accurate requires a lot of precision and making sure that you get the placement exactly where you need around the defender. But honestly, I would settle for just a lot of power, even if just slacking it on target, even if it's not the best play shot. I think that would opt to be a little bit more dangerous. I felt like at times ETSU would be set up for a shot, they'd ramp up for it, and then at the last second, maybe they try to turn their car or get some slightly different hit, and then it would lack the power, it would roll on target, it would fly off to the side, and at least if you're going to make the defense work for it, you have a chance to follow it up. And I think the lessons learned in game number 1 is at least if you have a lot of shots, you have to make sure the defense is earning every single save, but at least now they can try to regain, but I guess on defense, still a little bit unstable. BML just going to march to the backfield.
And Blake wanted the clear away, no follow-up coming through. Prime also not getting the flip that he was expecting. And Tulsa, they lead early on. They have been a defensive team, so I wouldn't be too worried for ETSU. They need to keep their head composed. They need to keep it together and just play this game. Blue clearing 1, Blake. I'm having the opportunity to clear 2. Blue, all he needs to do is try and bump Grizz, but Grizz is so incredibly speedy that he gets it to the backboard before almost an angle. But Blue, there will be nobody in front of the target to finish that one off. And ETSU, they have yet another opportunity. Panzer, easy clear away. So much space to work with. Blue then goes for the challenge, but Panzer, he can spot that out perfectly, calculate when this challenge will be coming through, when he will reach the ball, and when his opponent will reach the ball, and then just be a millisecond quicker.
And they're doing a good job of cutting a lot of these plays out before they do start. BML and company on the side of Tulsa. They're not as free-flowing on offense as they were previously, but it's still going to take a lot from ETSU to make sure they get through. Third man committing on that play, but will bail out instead to rotate back. Now Prime, open space, do not get the touch. They field flip, I think, turned it into a recovery, but ultimately a nice opportunity, a lot of space. Not able to take it, still dealing with some offensive woes. But at least the dunks are there, and the open shots might be on Das Blake, getting cut out at the last second, and the defense from Tulsa still doing work.
Or Grizz now taking it to the backboard. The aerial control out of this player is exquisite, but Blue, just being speedy, will gain you massive advantages as well. BML and Grizz, though, did double commit. Now they have to be careful on defense. Panzer gets a free clear away, and this is one of those moments where ETSU, I feel like they could have gotten more out of the attack. Not necessarily a goal, but at least get it to the center. Try and punish that double commit. Grizz nicely rotating back in time. The entire defense was clear, but now he still needs to get past Blake, and that will not be an easy task. Blake exactly shows why, but BML with a free clear into the opposing corner. A nice little wave dash mechanic on the side. Was a short one, but enough to reach the ball.
Ever since BML went through the backfield, getting that first goal for Tulsa, we've been at this lull in the game in which the gaps in the backfield are mostly covered, and they really are coming from awkward angles. Grizz was up for that play, but still had to get underneath the bar, which is too tall of an order as we cross halftime. This might just be a game of slim margins. It seems like not too many shots are even going through. There's only 3 shots on the side of Tulsa have actually gone on target, and ETSU with only 4. They're trying their hardest to break through their defense, taking a variety of approaches, but it just doesn't seem to be working down the stretch, and they're just going to have to keep going to different plays in the playbook.
Sometimes the different plays in the playbook is go back a few pages. If you feel like you're not understanding whatever you're reading, go back a few pages and try and understand, try and build that up. Go back to the ground mechanics is what I'm trying to say. And sometimes I feel like ETSU is forcing too much, it's trying too much. Whereas Tulsa, they keep it calm, they keep it cool, they keep it collected, and don't overcommit. They don't really make silly mistakes. They keep it simple. Panzer, it's a simple clear, but it's still a phenomenal one. Good fake out of Grizz. Let's see what he can do to Blake. Can he send them into the woods as well? No, not quite. Blake nicely stands his ground. Blue up to the skies. See what he can do. 50. From that 50, if he just forwarded his car, angled it forward a bit more, that would have been a completely different 50.
Pixels off on those 50s can spell so much damage. How about that 50? Finding Grizz in the back post. Blue will deprive him of that. Clear out BML. Will send it right back in the mixer. Grizz straight down. Panzer, not the contact they're hoping for. I think the bounce was a bit farther out than they would have liked. So Das Blake will try to build it out. Blue and Prime both moving up and nearly paid for that overzealousness. Still playing with a 1-goal deficit, but ETSU doing a lot better job to keep this one closer. 1 minute remaining for a comeback attempt.
4-0 or 1-0, it all doesn't matter in the end. A loss is a loss, and Grizz keeping it into the attack and place it on the backboard. Blue, and we'll be meeting him right there, engaged in the 50. BML, flip reset, take to pass 1. Fancy mechanics coming out of Tulsa now as well. 36 seconds remaining on the clock, and flip resets, they are dangerous, but if you are the only one going for it, why not Blake to the backward? Grizz with a touch, and they're surely panicking on the side of Tulsa. Will that go on target? BML needs to make the save, doesn't make it, and it is an unfortunate bouncer up the post, trickles on in the center, and it is tied.
Oh my goodness, I was so nervous. It felt like, honestly, it was one of those games from ETSU where that ball was going to go across in the open net and then post out to the far corner, but instead the 4th defender turned into the 4th attacker, passing it back to Blue. They got their equalizer, and now it's about making its way into overtime or potentially pulling something out before then, but they also need to be wary of Tulsa up on offense. BML with a beautiful setup. Grizz didn't want to believe. They rotated out. They'll lob it instead. One more attempt potentially for Panzer to put it on over the bar again. Blake and Prime, there's no contact, and luckily none on the side of Tulsa coming through. We will indeed be seeing overtime in game number 2.
This is an important one for ETSU. I feel like if they lose this one, they might just be out of this because it is such an unfortunate game for them. They have had opportunities. This is a decent 50. BML was going to catch that Grizz with a nice far post rotation, exactly the way it's supposed to be. BML goes to the ground quickly. Blake punches that out to the side. Blue struggling to get the follow-up. Doesn't just half flip, tries to do some fancy mechanics, and then Panzer, let's see what he can do with this place it. On the backboard, Prime getting through 2v1 situation. No demo is possible though because the play was ahead of Blue. BML took the team on his back and tries to get it into the attack. Grizz, great pace on it. Banzler not finding the double tap though, and that might just cost them a lot.
And my goodness, Blue is really going to have to count their blessings after that touch. They went up as a third player and immediately bailed. They realized they lost the challenge and they didn't have to pay for it. How about this? Panzer getting another double tap off target. Prime will have to try and dig it out of the corner. We'll leave it for Blue on the near post. Another 50. Das Blake with yet another clear. Starting to see Tulsa really ramp up the pressure, trying to throw as many shots as near target as possible. Doing a good job, but ultimately nothing has been able to find its way through. But ultimately, enough awkward touches will be too much for ETSU to handle. 2-1, Tulsa strikes an OT.
This is just one of those ones where Blake is driving along, nice stroll, watches out to the side, watches out to the side. Oh, I've got an easy clear. This is simple, so nice. And then all of a sudden, Panzer gets a ridiculous redirect. Yes, it's not a lot of power, sure. It catches you off guard. It makes you panic. It makes you a little bit frazzled. You get a wee clear away. And then Tulsa do incredibly well to get that into the back of the net. It's such a hard position for Blake to deal with. And this might just be a momentum breaker for them. And
that is something I totally vibe with what you said earlier on, is that they're not in a literal sense, if you are the side of ETSU, getting a loss for this series, but losing in that game is so tough because you made all the adjustments necessary to bring it close, but then not enough to actually win the game. And of course, getting to overtime is almost like you're right on the precipice of getting a victory and losing. So now the mental side, I think, really has to come in. You're facing a reverse sweep. You got a close and lost, but now it's time to shake it off, take that deep breath, and get back to work, because I think the improvements were made, but you still have more to make.
Absolutely, and I'm sure everybody has at least at some point in their life seen a clip of the game called Jump King, or any sort of those games where you have to climb to the top, and as soon as you make one tiny mistake, you stumble all the way back down to the bottom. That's kind of what it felt like for ETSU. I'm sure that they were so close. They saw the finish, they saw the end, and one tiny slip-up cost them the game. But hey, you have another go, and once you land at the bottom, that's the way where you build it back up. I've not seen a foundation that started at the top. No, it starts at the bottom, and that's what they have to do right now. ETSU, they're in a position where they have to reverse sweep, but they are very capable of doing so. Blake, you do need to get a good start. BML prevents that from happening, though.
I do like them going straight down the middle, trying to really take advantage of that open backboard. It will not be rewarded, but I like the courage. Same with that touch, and what a pinch all the way down. BML doesn't expect it, because who would? ETSU in the lead.
ETSU, they are just... what a pinch. It's fortunate. Hey, it's fortunate, bro. That is something that you love to be seeing if you're watching for East Tennessee State University, of course, which is why we're calling them ETSU. It just doesn't roll off the tongue as nicely if you try and go for something quick and then have to say out the entire name. ETSU will do just fine. Blue will do just fine on the clear away as well.
So another clear will go down, and we'll have to see if the defense here from Tulsa will be able to hold. Certainly they've been stretched to their limit at times, and these clever passes are doing a lot to keep pressure, but ETSU, the back pass will be read by BML instead. Das Blake, more time to build something up. They will bait in a challenge and knock it into the middle. No one following the call. Blue, one more challenge through, and a 50. Trying to set up camp in this orange half, and they're doing a valiant effort, but ultimately all pressure has to come to an end. Panzer and company getting just enough 50s to curtail that down. Still in the lead though, ETSU trying to protect it as the first minute has come and gone.
This is why 1v1 can be so great to actually practice, because Rocket League really can be a game of 50-50s, where if you manage to manipulate it in such a way where you can force it into the hands of your teammate or force it into the back of the net, as we saw earlier in this game, it will bring you massive advantage that you can utilize later on in the game and later on in the series, while also demotivating your opponent, because losing at 50, it makes you feel rather powerless. But ETSU right now, they're up a 1-0 because of that 50. BML looking to go down the other end. Blake gets a touch, and there might just be enough time wasted for his teammates to get back, and indeed it is. Maybe even to set up a counter-attack. Grizz got a ghost touch on it. He's not going to be happy that that went in.
We talk about the intricacies of Rocket League, but ultimately there are so many moments that just require you to have one person just far enough back in case someone decides to rocket down the field. Blue's done it off a pinch, and now they do it on their own volition. No one home in the backfield. Grizz so tantalizingly close, but no save coming through. 2-0 to Eastern Tennessee. Can they keep this form going? This is the type of response you want to see out of a team that's forced into a reverse sweep.
East Tennessee, they do look strong, but not in this moment. They have a moment of weakness, and that has been Tulsa's strong point, where they spot out that moment of weakness. Panzer, it's such an exquisite shot. Instead of booming that into the back of the net exactly the way East Tennessee is expecting it, he just nicely trickles it on in. An absolute roller finding its way into the back of the net. And then as we approach halftime, Blue might just be able to extend that lead to 2. No height on the flip reset whatsoever. Panzer pass it off to his teammate, attempt to do so. BML into the corner. BML with a second tap, and that is just a snipe and a half. Oh my word, that is nice.
My goodness, if you could frame a goal, I would certainly be putting that up on my wall of the BML. The elegance to twirl in the air just enough to get your bumper wrapped around it, and a great placement just enough the crossbar to keep it high, but not enough to keep it out. 2-2 right at the stroke of halftime, and East Tennessee, what do you have to say in response? How about a redirect? Great save from the hero of the moment, BML, and they'll put Grizz on their horse for the counterattack, but a good challenge from Das. Blake cuts that short. Ponsler, the cut in. Prime will be able to put that one forward into the middle again. Grizz will decide against it and leave it for Panzer, so now really getting into a back and forth struggle in the midfield. Both teams have found their shooting ways, and who can close this out as the seconds start to tick down?
Eastern Tennessee, they feel like the more mechanical side, and Tulsa seem like the more calculated side, who have gotten the 2 games on the board already. But Eastern Tennessee, if you're a mechanical side and you start playing up to your potential, it can bring you massive things. Blake's looking to fake out the 50. Managed to get it into the box. Prime not committing and wants to keep this close in defense and does not want to let up any momentum, because they do realize at this moment that Tulsa is indeed smart and they will spot out any mistake you make. And at that point, if you get punished directly for making a mistake, just don't make any mistakes. And this is exactly what I mean. You make a tiny mistake and they will capitalize.
Watch Prime on this play. They are drawn between so many different options. Ball goes out in the midfield. They challenge up. It goes over their head. They go to the backboard. It bounces down in the middle. They try to get off the backboard. They're just being pulled in every way except for the distance to the ball. And unfortunately, that one will go right in over their head. But they can't lament for too long, because kickoff goals are a great set piece for ETSU, getting right back in it. The speed from Blue opening the gate.
Great speed out of Blue, is cheating up on kickoff. No defender. Getting the proper 50 out there. Sends it to the center. And East Tennessee, they do manage to tie this one right back up. That always feels so incredibly great. You concede a goal, you get one off of kickoff. Oh yeah, nothing happened. It's all good. It's just 10 seconds off the clock and we're right back to where we started. Panzer, he can't make a mistake here, and he does indeed. Clear it out to the side. BML staying close to the play. Panzer and Grizz both in front of the play. That's dangerous if the 50 would have went wrong. Panzer and Grizz, they realized that, went back on the rotation. BML lofts it over, and now Panzer is on that sidewall. Probably not a lot of boost to work with, but I guess enough to force it through as we head into this final minute. This is going to be a crunch time for both teams,
especially with no one home for the side of Tulsa. Luckily, they got a demo on Das Blake, so they'll be sent back. They'll use that position and clear up the middle. Another touch. Have enough to get a dunk down. They will. It's in the corner. Grizz Temporary touch, BML on a dribble with Blue in front. A dunk down will keep the ball moving. A dunk pass, another, and a demo. Can they have a setup? Prime, they're left alone in the back post. Grizz pre-jumped it, and it will be deflected. One more touch will put it in the middle. They're trying to get back. Is Tulsa. Prime will not get the redirect, so we might not be seeing any heroism before we reach for another overtime, but these both teams are going to have one more shot at it. Preferably, I'm sure ETSU would like to have the last laugh, and they might have just done it. What a redirect with 4 seconds to go.
4 seconds to go. We have seen a kickoff goal before, and they need to force it. But Blake, what a redirect, an absolute boomer. It's an amazing feature that Grizz even got a touch on that. But a touch won't be enough. You won't get any credit whatsoever. And East Tennessee might just be able to get their first game on the board. Prime, obviously going to keep this close. Actually, no, spikes that up high. Just wants to clear it away from defense. Good demo, but BML with the catch. They able to keep this up. Absolutely not. He attempts it. That's a ridiculous save on a Panzer. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get a goal in that regard. And it's East Tennessee get one game on the board.
You were touching on how East Tennessee feels like a more mechanical squad. That is why you have to implement those mechanics. A deep clear down the field. You know that you just have to get it on target, but you're upside down. You're flying toward their goal. How do you get it on target? You do what Das Blake did, perfectly set up and redirected right into that top shelf, getting that win. We had to go nearly to overtime yet again, but those last second heroics, and I thought they might have a chance that longer clear. I did not expect it to come through in that fashion. That's got to get the confidence going, and I'm wondering if that's going to carry through to game number 4 as now the reverse sweep has been started.
This always feels like the hardest game in a reverse sweep. Getting that first game, because you have to shake off 2 losses in a row, and East Tennessee have done just that. Let's see what they can reach on from this moment. Once a team like East Tennessee gets going, I feel like they can conquer the world. They can beat teams who are ranked a lot higher than them purely because they have that momentum. They start to feel their mechanics and they start to play on automatic pilot. Let's see what they can do in this 4th game. They are still on their last pair of legs, so they can't slip up at any second.
And I think the one thing that I really did like to see out of them is the confidence going for those demos, but they weren't going upfield with no purpose. They were actually getting into a lot of situations where they had a chance to dive forward, get that last shot in, but instead decided to turn back. It might seem passive, but I think that's exactly what this team needed, especially since they were struggling so heavily on defense as those first 2 games went through. And now they're the ones in the driving seat. They control their destiny, in Blue controls that flick, but unfortunately it goes right into the defender. They will not get that early opener.
No early opener, but I do not want that either. I just want to see these teams battle it out. Did I see BML wait for the boost there? I'm pretty sure he did, and then there will be an early opener. Prime capitalizing on BML laying an egg on that boost. Not the play you want to go for.
Honestly, I don't even think that's the play you want to go for if you're ETSU. 2 players having different positions about it. Fortunately for them, Tulsa was trying to read them and had no idea what was coming next. The pass in the middle caught them completely off guard. The wide open shot was opened up. How about this for Grizz? It might be just as open, but the angle is much more difficult. Das Blake was not doing too bad with that save, dropping from the heavens. Now as it will reside in the midfield, Prime send one deep for Ponsler to catch. Blue rushing the play yet again. Now a roll up the sideline. Das, it's into the ceiling. It's straight down. Prime on the near post. They have a good crash, but it's still in the mix. Das, another shot to the back post. A brilliant save coming through from BML. And those theatrics, that acrobatics, will keep them in this mix.
Well, Panzer with an exquisite flick over. Blake with a great save to mitigate that damage. BML still soaring through the skies. A low flyer, though, and that will tie it right back up. Everybody in this series, everybody in this game just popping up, and this is going to go end to end.
And that play started with the BML getting a goal line save, collecting boost, then just lurking upfield as that second man to be able to finish that opportunity off. Right back in it. We're back to a neutral standpoint and a very exciting opening 90 seconds. Might get even more thrilling as we see Panzer go up for the pre-jump. They will not be found. BML was stopped short, so Grizz will just send another one, just trying to keep the pressure going, but clears are in. Back out to midfield we go. Both these teams, I love them playing this chess match, looking at each other from across the field, slowly trying to figure each other out, and certainly paying a lot of dividends.
That is always a scary moment where you don't see the defender back. It's slowly going on target, and you would think, is he not going to get back? Is he going to get back? I'm not too sure what's going on. He did find the boost, clears it away. He probably had no worries in East Tennessee. They can actually go into the counterattack fast in field, but then Blue blocks his own teammate shot. Blake still using the sidewall to center this. A ball. Blue missing the shot then. Grizz clearing it away out of that box. So they need to go on the counter. 2.5 minutes. Or a little bit more than that is on the clock. Blue needs to step up on defense. Doesn't take it out to the side. Underneath Panzer he goes. BML will be there to finish that momentum off and shot Blue down in his traps.
That's Blake. He's trying to get out of their corner, as is all of East Tennessee. They will inevitably get a longer clear down, but can they extend it even further? Prime. No touch, Grizz. This is a giveaway from the side of Eastern Tennessee. Are they going to live to regret it? No. Too much time taken by Grizz. They're just going to have to throw it off the backboard. An air dribble won't do much, but it will keep it at least in the attack for Tulsa. 50s are going a long way, but so far both teams' defense is doing a great job of shutting down a lot of these plays, and we've seen a little bit of a reprieve from all these demo plays and these close challenges. So I was about to say, we're going to need something really to get pulled out of the hat. How about this from Panzer?
That is ridiculous. Extending and using his boost at the final second. I was going to say Panzer feels like the rock for Tulsa right now, not moving and just being one you can rely on the entire time, and then it pulls off something like that. Hey, that rock got moves though. I'll be honest, the Tulsa, they take the lead, they regain their momentum because of that, and East Tennessee, they're gonna have to force something. This might be a BML looking to stay afloat, and does do so, but his teammate clears it out already.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, teams like that with that solid base, just getting in those challenges that they need, the rotations back that are able to secure possession and your defense are so important. But of course, if that player can also pop off such a nice asset, Das Blake trying to pop off with a redirect, but they will not be able to emulate that magic from their previous match. They're going to have to keep on searching for their equalizer, but 70 seconds remaining. We've seen this scenario before with so many teams. How do you weigh these options in front of you? You don't want to rush things, but certainly with this newfound confidence that Tulsa had, it went away last game, but it is right on back there, just pushing the effort, really trying to throw everything at ETSU, keeping it on their half.
They're trying to play so incredibly quick on the side of East Tennessee. They have to force something. Prime with a good dive in to shut that down. BML along the side. Prime once again in the way of it. Prime just seemingly in the correct place at the correct time the entire time, but no correct amount of boost in his tank, for it is 0. Blue gets it along the pitch, but that doesn't really bring them anything. They need to keep this close. They need to set up an attack from scratch and not just boom the ball and hope they make a mistake, because they will go on the counter-attack directly, and this could just be the finisher.
That's what happens is a game of pixels, and sometimes you do not have the read. The trying to go across is Prime. They do not get it. Das Blake is just desperately trying to get back into the shot, and they will go over top of it. 32 seconds. If there's ever a time for a comeback, you're going to need every single trick in the book. They will not even get the benefit of the kickoff. But how about the next play after? Prime lurking on the back post, but they take too much time to line up their shot, and that play will go awry.
Play will go awry. They've got 20 seconds to try and make something go B-Ry, I guess, and try and make it work. Blue lifts it over. Das Blake gets a flipper set, and Blue will go underneath with 8 seconds left, Taco. There is a chance.
Honestly, this is a pretty brave play by Das Blake, but there's a fine line between bravery and foolishness. Luckily, it did work out into a great pass. Both players in Tulsa trusted in the read, and it cleared the path down for a goal to get them that much closer. With 8 seconds remaining, they still need more to go their way. BML, slow play. That might be something they regret. It's a good 50. It's into the ceiling. It's then deflected out to the corner. So Tulsa, they had some sweat on the brow, but they are going to pull it out. 3-1 to take down East Tennessee State, and they're moving on to a 5-1 record.
My word, this was so incredibly close. And this all comes down to those initial 2 games where East Tennessee slightly got edged out in overtime or in regulation. They just barely got beat by Tulsa, and then it will lead to the 3-1 scoreline. Had this been a game 5 overtime, I would have said fair enough, that works as well. I believe that directly, but it will be a 3-1, and East Tennessee, they're forced to take another loss.
And I think you start to see all these situations where we've seen this a couple times now where a team gets out to 2-0 lead and then saying, okay, well, we have to get the reverse sweep. Then they get that first game. You're thinking, okay, that's difficult thing because you're stopping the momentum, but now you have to try and turn the entirety of those tides and keep it going. And then game number 4 here, our final game, shows why that can be so difficult. As much as you mentally reset and then you get that victory, the same exact process is happening on the other side. And I think Tulsa made those adjustments, still keeping it close is that aside on East Tennessee, but ultimately Tulsa just seemed a bit cleaner down the stretch. They're finishing off those opportunities, and it's a well-deserved victory. Unfortunately, we will not be able to pick their brain, though, as we do not have an interview from Tulsa. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised as soon as that last goal goes in, that ball hits the ground, they all just collapse. They just need to recuperate. They went through the mixer, but ultimately that will call an end to our day here for Collegiate Rocket League. And I fear you, it's been an absolute pleasure sharing the booth with you, my friend.
Absolutely. It's been such a great day. We've seen amazing matches, and I'm so incredibly glad that I got there. I got to be here for all of those today. Unfortunately, that obviously has to come to an end. It's been a phenomenal series to end it off. I want to see this rematch at a certain point, so I hope I can be there for that. But for now, unfortunately, it's not going to happen.
And unfortunately, there's so many teams and so only cover so much, but they've been doing us a great service, giving us great esports action to cover all night long. Unfortunately, for all the viewers out there, if you're a fan of collegiate esports, then you don't have to worry. We have more coming up after this. Rocket League is done, but Overwatch has just begun. We're throwing you to a brief intermission, but we're right back with Los and LaFawn as they take you through the rest of the evening for collegiate Overwatch here on NACE Starleague. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the NACE Starleague Collegiate Competitions. You just enjoyed some fantastic Rocket League action, and now you're about to get into something a little more crazy, a little more intense with the Overwatch half of this broadcast. And to carry you on through all the madness here is, of course, myself, Los, and joining me on the desk will be LaFon. LaFon, how are you feeling on this fantastic Monday?
Doing pretty good, right? As always, we have to see some collegiate Overwatch action going down. So exciting stuff to be had here for sure. Los, as we got our first match of the day here between St. Andrews and Western Kentucky.
Oh, yeah, and it's going to be a good one. We're on week 6, and we're jumping into the Southeast 1 Conference. St. Andrews and Western Kentucky, they aren't in the best position in terms of the leaderboard right now. In fact, they're one of the 4 teams that are tied for 7th place in their conference.
Right. I mean, for St. Andrews, obviously, as we get a quick look at the head-to-head, the rosters as well on the board, they could play up to 500 here, right? Standing at that 500 score line if they were to win out today. Western Kentucky, obviously 2-4, so wouldn't be able to quite make that even spread yet. But you got to start somewhere, and so here would be as good a place to do it. Obviously, under the circumstances here, a win is ideal for both squads, and certainly I think it would mean a lot more for St. Andrews to be down or even 3-3 than down 2-4 heading into next week.
Certainly, you want to stand out amongst that pack. And, the winner of this one is going to make their way into 6th place. Now, that's not an amazing gain, but it is good to separate yourself from a big group. And, like I said, it's week 6. We're kind of winding down regular season and regulation play because, players are going to want to get into those playoff positions. The top 3 are going to be making it into that next round of competition. So people are going to be grinding as hard as they can, trying as hard as they can to just do whatever they can to get that advantage.
And now that obviously means we got to talk about Map 1 as we get set to go underway in just a moment. Map 1 is going to be Control. It's going to be Busan as our starting ground for this series, Lawson. I think we've kind of talked about Busan a ton over the broadcasts as we've kind of gotten week over week. And Busan is my favorite map in this game. I think it plays out extremely collected. Like there's a lot in the game that kind of plays out to strengths across the board in terms of composition. Something we bring up a lot here on this broadcast, specifically due to how flexible we've kind of seen teams be over the season so far. So, right, Busan being the first start, I suppose, for this series is an exciting look into how teams kind of choose to play out across. Are they more dive favorite teams, right? When you get to the downtown map, do they choose to play Rush, when they get to Sanctuary, for example, one of the substages of Busan. So as we kind of have that conversation, right, Busan is a great place to kind of get that initial understanding of how teams like to play, especially because of how varied you can find success here on this map.
Yeah, there's definitely some great opportunities to manipulate choke points in this map, and I want to see if teams can hold on to and manipulate the enemy team to force them to play how they want to. It's a good understanding of how aggressive can we be, how ballsy can we be with some extended push-ups to keep them from leaving their spawn. And, it depends on the composition. But, LaFon, over this entire season, have you seen a general composition that's been consistent? Or since we're jumping all over the place in the different conferences, different teams, is it kind of just hard to read a general meta?
There is no general meta, I don't think, for kind of this this league, I suppose I should say, across the board, right? Teams do have preferences and play styles that they do enjoy, right? That's not a surprise. We've seen across map to map, we've seen, sort of styles that teams like. In terms of all the teams kind of playing up to a specified unique meta, no, that hasn't been the case across the board, right? We have seen sort of differences in terms of what teams like to play. We've talked about the dive, we've talked about the rush, we've seen some bunker compositions as well. It really does seem to be playing to players and team strengths more than anything. And, that kind of brings up a point that we have to sort of admit. These teams don't have a lot of footage on them. This is true for every squad in this tournament, in this play. And so from week to week, you don't have a lot of research on teams. That means you can bring out stuff that others aren't necessarily expecting and find value because they have no way to research it, right? So, if you come up with a cheese composition, I use that term lovingly, there is certainly an application that is available. We saw in previous weeks a Bastion teleporter, Symmetric teleporter show up at one point, right? So, and that came out and sort of gave pause to the opponent. Now, will we see that Bastion teleporter composition here on this map? No, we won't, most likely. Right? That's very, very low percentage. That being said, though, those styles of compositions can find value if teams choose to pick it. So there's certainly an element there to be considered.
Well, have you seen anything that has been just consistent strength? There isn't a general meta that's been seen across the entire board. But what types of compositions do you think are finding the most success going into this game?
The teams that kind of have the most success right now are the teams that are willing to kind of play what I would consider the more de facto compositions, right? Namely the Somber Tracer, which is kind of that dive composition, and the teams that play the more focused rush composition as well. So, with around the Reinhardt, around the sort of stable position that you kind of find with the Moira and the Lucio. And starting off the top, right? I mean, St. Andrews already looking to kind of play out that rush composition here as we get set for Mecha Base as our round number 1. Western Kentucky, similar in terms of the bunker style, but a lot more poke established here from them.
They're getting that first advantage by teleporting over that balcony, just trying to get an initial gauge at what's going on. They have this double shield composition ready to go. They are just poking at them, seeing what they could do initially.
It is going to be that slow style, right? This rush composition needs to get close. They're waiting for cooldowns. They're waiting for that opportunity. They're specifically waiting for the shield to be placed from the Orisa as their kind of go button, because that means that there will be a lot more time and space gained here. So St. Andrews playing up slow, playing up safe, making sure they're at full HP before they fully commit when the point unlocks.
Ooh, Onyx almost got taken out by Frosty right there. Going to have to back up, but his Pillager also is jumping down, trying to take the fight to them. And he does know that Merkza is in the back line, but Pillager, he's not going to allow them to do much. Onyx as well. Both damage dealers are going to fall, so this may be able to turn into a Western Kentucky fight.
Yeah, Western Kentucky do a good job of allowing the point to go over, right? Don't overcommit. Yeah, you give them 15%, and maybe perhaps a little bit more than that, but sub 30% for sure. And what that means is now you're going to be able to reset on the high ground with your strength, which is belying any control of the choke point here specifically. So as the reset comes in, Western Kentucky will be in a good position. St. Andrews has to readdress a lot of this. The one sort of caveat is if Sasora walks past the shield and lays down a shatter, this could be disastrous for the defense.
Well, I mean, we already saw a switch over from Merkza, originally running on that Reaper, swapped over to the Echo, not even going to try and pick up a Death Blossom with that one. So it's going to be interesting to see how they try and utilize that with the new DPS. But right now they're just chilling back in that corner because they can't make a move quite yet.
Yeah, Sora, was taken out with that amplification matrix early, so I'm just going to delay that fight. And now, Western Kentucky in a great position. We see the Frosty on the Hanzo just deny any space. And this Dragon Strike is going to be massive for sure.
Let's see what they could do. It's going to start with the Gravitic Flux being launched up and then knocked down. Will there be a follow-up? I think it's going to be just a tactical Visor because Villager and Diddy are taking them down with ease.
Yeah, St. Andrews University now just being delayed as Sir Win going to have to be sent back the old, he's going to be slowed down quite a bit here. This is going to be forcing the 70% mark or so for Western Kentucky before that next fight begins. And if Western Kentucky kind of slow this down even further, this is going to be last fight, right? You have St. Andrews has to make this fight work because it's the last opportunity they're really going to get.
Need to utilize that sound barrier, Earth Shatter, as well as self-destruction. If they can use it to get into the beginning of this fight and just push out, break the defenses, stop them from being in that chokehold that we knew was going to be such a hard hold, but it's going to start off with a Dragon Strike, and Doofus coming through doesn't get anything because Frosty is so quick with those arrows, takes him out.
And I mean, 97%, they need someone to move quickly. They're going to have to give up something to get to the objective. And nope, that's going to be it. That's going to be round 1. 100-20, may as well be 100-0. As ultimately excellent point control, choke control by Western Kentucky University. And as I highlighted right after, that point was sort of flipped over, Western Kentucky, their composition is based around holding these chokes down. Entering past sort of the Sigma Orisa, especially when you have the Hanzo kind of flanking out, right? Providing pressure on those flanks is very difficult. And St. Andrews never really had a coalesced fight where they were able to kind of hit the go button with a sound barrier and just rush past it. So excellently played by Western Kentucky, gives them the 1-0 lead on this map as they head now to Sanctuary to try and regain their footing a little bit. St. Andrews certainly have their work cut out for them.
This might be a little bit easier for St. Andrews because there's more open space, more paths for them to maneuver through and not be caught in choke points like the previous map. And I think they may have a good opportunity going into this one, but I'm interested to see how that Torbjorn is going to work out.
This Torbjorn's going to put a little bit of pressure on Frosty, but the dive composition from Western Kentucky is already in play.
Oh yeah, Friend of Cats is already jumping in there, almost taking out Torbjorn, and he does. Both the turret and the turret keeper go down, and Kings Nation just pushing in along with the rest of their squad. Pillager taking no L's here, taking souls instead.
That is a big rush through. Just isolate the front line from the back line. Choose, we saw just the back line, or front line rather, drop down from the high ground. That meant that Western Kentucky, with their more maneuverable composition, was able to kind of bypass that fight and completely render Sora and Serwin completely ineffective. Getting on that back line, the Ana, the Torbjorn taken out. Merxa is going to make a switch over to the Cowboy, just trying to put a little bit more, pressure from range, especially, and deny anyone close range with flashbang as well. Western Kentucky, no ultimates, but you can see they're giving this space to walk in, to try and bisect the opposition when they have their opportunity to dive.
Pillager was creeping around on that backline. I think he might come and deliver a sneaky surprise for him, but we have a D.Va duel on our hands right now. However, Friend of Cats is there for the support. D.Va going to get knocked out of that mech pretty easily. Cowboy will fall, and soon will the rest of this team as they are just diving right on in. And a massive dash coming from Frosty, eliminating 2 with the follow-up from Pillager, making it look easy.
I'd like to see St. Andrews play a little bit faster, right? Just throw caution to the wind and run at the opposition. You have a lot more healing potential, right? The Moira and the Baptiste, both of them exceedingly good at just generating heals. Break the LOS of the Ana and then just swing down the front line. That's what St. Andrews kind of needs to do here. That being said, Western Kentucky have all their ultimates up. This is going to be a bloodbath, and Western Kentucky really have the advantage in terms of the go button.
Yeah, all they're running with over on the side of St. Andrews is that Coalescence. They will pick up a Deadeye in just a few moments, as well as that Earth Shatter, but are they going to be able to utilize it effectively? They keep going on to this choke point that they can't push through, and finally there will be a digress, but it's going to be faced off with Frosty pulling out the blade and slicing up St. Andrews. Not too much trouble is being given to him, as the rest of them, Friend of Cats also, zapping him to death and keeping this point under their control.
And they do get a little bit of percentage. That means there is an opportunity for St. Andrews to recontest, right? But Western Kentucky only used 2 ultimates there, right? They have everything else, and they're loaded for bear. Now, St. Andrews, there's a small window of opportunity, but they need to be doing so much more quickly than this. And with 93% remaining, they need to touch.
Yeah, it's most likely going to be that charge right through, but here comes the Death Blossom. It does pick up Traveler, but he will be stunned by the Cowboy. It doesn't matter, though, because Pillager will finish him off. They're trying to fight. Tonix is sitting on the point, trying to stay alive with that heal. He does manage to pick off Frosty, but now he's all alone. Friend of Cats is taking out this final tank, being sent out of that mech. It's the baby D.Va, and they won't have any hope in hell of holding on to this point. And that first map is going to go over to Western Kentucky with ease.
Not quite the shutout under the most technical definition, but fairly one-sided on Western Kentucky's side. So excellently played there in terms of the control they were able to show on control. As really the credit goes to Western Kentucky. They're slowing the game down quite a bit. St. Andrews only gets like 3 fights per round, and those rounds that happen, Western Kentucky just has all the ultimates available. St. Andrews just cannot contest in that situation. So certainly a lot on the table in terms of what is available to Western Kentucky, and they make good use of those resources to give themselves a 1-0 lead here in the series.
St. Andrews was looking quite apprehensive when it came to any fight they were looking to take. It always was, they were playing back. They didn't want to make a full-on commitment, but when they did, you know, Hasadaddy sends them up into the sky with that gravitic flux, and the rest of the squad is just too separated to give them support. They got split up very easily throughout this map.
It's a side effect there. I mean, St. Andrews run the Lucio on the first objective, right? But getting stuck through the choke point means that, you know, not everyone's on the same page in terms of how you're kind of like entering the fray. And look, we can see here, right? This is how they kind of bisected that opposition. The front line on the low ground, the back line on the high ground, and that means that the high mobility characters are able to get through pretty easily. And you'd like to see a little bit more, I'd say, in terms of tempo right now from St. Andrews, because it's tough to win fights in Overwatch if you don't have ultimates, and you cannot build ultimates, pardon me, if you aren't taking fights. So it's sort of a catch-22 situation. How do you win fights? Well, by getting ultimates. How do you get ultimates? By taking fights. So even if you're losing the fights out completely, at least forcing the resources from the opposition while generating some of your own, I think is the step for St. Andrews needs to take here in map number 2.
So even losing fights just to give yourself an advantage in the next one will be a successful or key to success for them going forward in this series?
Yeah, that's sort of like the weird thing about you know, sort of the competitive aspect of this game is that losing a fight is not always a bad thing, right? I mean, it's not ideal, certainly. No one would say that. But losing the correct fights, I think, is something that teams sometimes forget about when they sort of sit around. They're going into every fight expecting to win. You don't always need to do that as long as your win condition for the map is still in sort of frame, right? That's kind of the thought process you have to go through. And so that's what we're going to have to sort of see from St. Andrews. I think Western Kentucky did a fantastic job of that. Now St. Andrews has to be there to respond. We are going to map number 2 in just a moment. Kings Row, of course. Sides will say the same, so there is no change in color. Western Kentucky will be in blue, defending first. St. Andrews on the attack as they get set to go to Kings Row in just a moment.
It's going to be interesting to see how St. Andrews is going to flip into straight offense, where it looked like they were almost defending themselves or trying to stay alive rather than wholly attack an objective. Hopefully they could bring it together and keep themselves grouped up, but, you know, not enough for splash damage, but grouped up enough to keep themselves in the game and keep themselves healed, make sure that they could sustain in fights and last long enough to generate some ultimate buildup.
Yeah, I want to talk about Western Kentucky for a second, because I don't think there was specifically a standout player in map number 1. That's not a criticism, I should say, of the team or of any individual player. That is really a testament to how well they're playing as sort of that cohesive squad, right? No one is really out of step. Yes, there were some individual moments that were very strong. Frosty on the Hanzo on map number 1. On round number 1 was sort of an element of that, and we saw Pillager flanking a couple of times as well. But, you know, those were moments. Those weren't like sort of stand out across the map. And as I said, that's not a bad thing. That is very much a case of Western Kentucky recognizing that they're playing as a team and taking advantage of sort of the space they're given as a team. And that's something that you have to give credit to, because it's very, very difficult to do that, and shows that Western Kentucky definitely has the practice to kind of back that up.
I think that Frosty was showing some real prowess in their ability to break the enemy lines and get behind and get some good flanks, or just dive right into the team while staying alive and being able to pick up some elims for themselves. And one thing I'm curious is to see if Tonix and Merxa are going to hold on to the heroes that they pick. They've changed up so many times throughout that first map. Are they going to be able to find consistency to at least build up an ultimate?
Yeah, seeing on the flank, though, Pillager's already at the back line, just making sure that no one can be through unassailed. Finds the information that they're going high ground and the Sonic Arrow to back it up. So Western Kentucky already having information as to St. Andrews pathing, and this is pretty good now. They're sort of containing them here in this small room on the side.
Well, now they're all grouping up as a team, but they're putting themselves in a meat grinder right now. You don't want to be in a small space against this squad, as Friend of Cats gets a massive charge over into the Moira. They're running out of heals now, and that sustain will not be there for this fight.
That is just a combination of information gathered into understanding where your opposition tries to rotate and then meeting them in the expected position. And actually, it looks like Traveler is caught here in the back line. So it's no speed, no offense as well, as that was a great pick off from Frosty. this fight's already over before it even starts.
That's a huge stagger, both for the Lucio and on that Doomfist. They aren't going to be fight ready for a while, but Frosty, he's taking the fight to them, sitting on top of that hotel balcony, just trying to find another pick. I think he's going to get one in just a few moments, but even if he doesn't get it, he's got those arrows going down and a massive shatter with a pulse bomb to send them right back into their spawn.
Yeah, St. Andrews' one saving grace in that fight is that was 2 ultimates committed by Western Kentucky, the Pulse Bomb and the Earth Shatter, right? So certainly something to take from that is that you won't have to worry about kind of saving your Reinhardt early. Now all you have to kind of deny is this Dragon Strike that's going to, isolate certain members of the team as Frosty's sitting up here on the opposite high ground.
Okay, I think we're about to see it right now. Here comes the Dragon Strike, biting them in their back, sending it through the hotel. Does find a pick over onto Merxa, and the rest are soon to be falling. The Earth Shatter put into play. It doesn't get too much over for St. Andrews as Friend of Cats and Pillagers cut them all down.
Yeah, Friend of Cats blocks a majority of that shatter, and the remaining members cannot be taken out. The damage throughput is not there. St. Andrews back to the drawing board, and that means that Western Kentucky now have both tank ultimates online. And those big difference makers, those big crowd control abilities are now in play. St. Andrews has to find an early pickoff, and they need to go quick with this coalescence.
Here's Pillager always on that flank. Pretty much going to find another ultimate soon. Oh! Coming in with a good flank, but it gets hit with a flashbang. It's going to be enough to distract them while the rest of the tanks follow through all the way back to their spawn. And this isn't looking too good if you're on the St. Andrews squad, because they have no chance. They're not even getting eliminations. They're just being slaughtered.
That is 2 ultimates again, right? The grab top search, Pulse Bomb. Pulse Bomb was denied by a good shield bash, and I mean, I don't know if St. Andrews has kind of isolated the fact that Friend of Cats is sitting here in the corner, looking for a flank shatter, perhaps.
This could be deadly. They're not looking at him. The shields are wide open. Will they be shattered? I think the shatter was used, but who got stunned? Who knows? But Friend of Cats is picking up not 1, but 2, but 4 eliminations and make it a 5th. Why not? Daddy will get that last one. So de facto team kill. But I think Friend of Cats really showed up for that one.
Yeah, that was a big. I mean, you don't find the information that the Reinhardt sitting in the corner, that no shield available, and that means that Friend of Cats is able to knock that one down. Amplification Matrix rather at the choke to prevent anyone from even walking out of spawn. And with 16 seconds remaining, St. Andrews they just need to try and find an opening pick here.
I do not envy the St. Andrews squad right now. Grab into Dragon Strike, into just trying to brawl with this squad, but you can't brawl with Western Kentucky. Not a single one of them dying in that last 3 fights?
Yeah, that was a rather one-sided defense from Western Kentucky as they make that one look cohesive, calm, collected, and controlled, as they're going to finish it out with barely a tag onto the objective from St. Andrews University. And now St. Andrews has their work cut out for them. 4 minutes that they need to hold to try and force a draw here. Western Kentucky certainly in the driver's seat here of this map.
Certainly so. I mean, Western Kentucky, they were attacking on defense, so I don't think this is going to be a draw, LaFon. I don't think that's going to happen.
Winning a couple of fights would be good for St. Andrews here, right? Because while this map itself is, fairly, the outcome fairly predictable, I should say. Winning a couple of fights to kind of get your sort of confidence under you would be a big step, I think, into map number 3. Because regardless of the outcome of this map, we still have to play that 3rd map, and now it's a case of like just try to get yourself back in the series. You know, not just in terms of the gameplay, but also in terms of like having the fortitude to recognize when you're, having issues in certain fights and kind of when and how to take those fights. For St. Andrews, that's going to be the sort of keys to the rest of the series starting off here.
Trying to get a pick off. It's Frosty with that Widowmaker. Not going to find anything initially. Well, we already have Hasadidi in the backline with that Wrecking Ball. Knocks him out of their own shield. But they will be punished a little bit, taking a serious amount of damage. Pillager spotted out, looking for that flank on the Doomfist. Not going to be able to have anything just yet, but here comes that initial push over onto point. It will be a huge ante to stop them from getting healed, and the shields will be broken. Friend of Kaz going into the backline. He's not even on the point anymore. He's just taking the fight to them because he likes it, and that's going to be an easy team kill. Western Kentucky picks up Kings Row. Series now 2-0.
And that means that Western Kentucky are at match point here ahead of map number 3. And a quick highlight. This is going to be that corner shatter for sure. No question it isn't.
Oh, that is such a nasty shatter.
And yeah, I mean, sits in dodges the sort of scouting of the opposition and is in place to get a fantastic shatter, right? Not too many people will expect out of Hotel the Reinhardt kind of sitting in play. That's not Hotel. That's sort of the opposite us corner. But the point being, it's still an unexpected play, and Ryan of Cats picking the correct moment when, just kind of fading out of sort of the attention of St. Andrews is the beneficiary of a fantastic play, and as a result, up 2-0 in the series as they make this one look fairly strong.
They certainly aren't looking like their league score right now. Their league record being 2-4. They are looking like a much stronger, maybe a 4-2 squad at this moment. I mean, if you're St. Andrews right now, you have to be wondering, how can we possibly come back over in map 3 and bring it up to a map 5?
It starts off with one map at a time. You don't think about the map 5 here, right? This is a place where at this point in time, you have to kind of consider the fact that you have to deal with map number 3 first. You have to deal with Assault. There's no question in my mind that if you try and think about map 4 or map 5, that you're putting yourself in a position to lose. We're kind of concern yourself with the next map first, and then what maybe will be afterwards as, that's kind of how you do it, one step at a time.
Well, I mean, we've been speaking about how they could do well in map 2 and then round 2 of map 2 by getting some eliminations to get that confidence back, or just taking more fights, being able to generate some ultimates. What can they do going into map 3? Do they just do those strategies but actually well?
There is no change to the keys to victory necessarily here for St. Andrews University, because the change that they need to make is not in specificity, right? There is no one thing they need to kind of change to make themselves better in the fights that are kind of going their way. They do need to play faster, absolutely. That's kind of the case, right? They only took 4 fights on the offense, and they kind of allow the position to be encouraged by Western Kentucky. So, the way they win has not changed. Now, it's all about that execution on sort of that strategy that needs to come into play.
We've seen a large amount of changes and swaps for, I believe, Merxa on that DPS. Do you think committing to one hero would be a more ideal situation?
Play what you practice is kind of my advice there, right? And we don't know what they choose to run in those practices that they have, and that's kind of where I would say they need to find their steps. So if there is an element of just switching, trying to go around to counter what's happening with their opposition, pick what you've kind of played, pick what you kind of your team's kind of good at, and then go from there. That's sort of how you have to find value, I think, right now in Overwatch, especially.
Yeah, well, they're certainly going to have to find out what composition works for them well as we're heading out to map 3, which is going to be Junkertown. Now, I think this will be a little easier for them because the point is going to be right there. That payload is going to be right there for them, so they have to have a brawl for that objective, especially if they're attacking, the defenders are going to have a longer walk to get back to the objective, and if you could just get 1 or 2 and just make it a little bit easier for yourself, I think that St. Andrews is going to be able to pull out and give us a better performance here.
Yeah, and we obviously have Western Kentucky as the defense here for map number 3 as well. So, again, coming into this play, we'll have to. The expectation from St. Andrews really does have to be that first fight, right? We mentioned the first fight as being so critical because it really gives you that jump start to the rest of the map. And if you can get a good first step out of the gates, then things can definitely start to look better for you, right? You get those ultimates first, then you start to be able to kind of collect those together into a cohesive strategy that then moves to the remainder of the map. As you said, the objective is available right outside the spawn gates for St. Andrews, and if they can get onto the objective, get some mobility, then there is definitely an opportunity here for them.
Will not opt for a... I was hoping that they would try and pull out the Cowboy a little bit, because Frosty is always in that back line, and that is something... Or Frosty or Pillager. Both of them are excellent snipers and excellent flankers. You need somebody who can stop that flank, somebody who can lock down the flankers and stop them from creating havoc in the back. And right now they're going to opt for that Widowmaker and Farah. I'm interested to see how this one plays out, and we might get our first initial pick. Big ante over onto the Orisa, but actually it's a swap over to Bastion?
They're playing the bunker composition, but walking out of spawn, no one really scouts out Pillager, and so Traveler's taken out. That being said, the cart has started moving. This Bastion gets kind of besieged here.
Well, we would hope so that the cart would move since they start right at it, but, you know, it doesn't get too far as King Nation, actually, that Ana doing some serious work, helping out Friend of Cats. They only make it about roughly 25 meters before we start to see this one slide on back.
I like the change to the Cowboy here. The Bastion gets a lot more value once it's set up, and the fact that they weren't able to get set up in the objective means that, you know, it's going to be much more difficult walking out of the spawn door. So the fact they're going over to the hit scan, the core hit scan player here, is a good start. Pillager gets an early pickoff, but adaptation are definitely in play right now from St. Andrews.
That's what we need to see, but right now Frosty is trying to duel out against Diddy, but they are going to be unsuccessful. Finally, Hasa Diddy picking up quite a few eliminations for themselves. The Diva duel is on, and now they have a little bit more control of this situation as that D-Mech comes through. They regain control.
King Nation actually gets a duel in the backline with the Tracer of the opposition. Tonics gets slept, and the Ana is able to keep themselves alive. So strong play on the support line from Western Kentucky as well, and Pillager has now been set up in this corner with the Infrasight. It's going to be really tough to assail this ranged hit scan at this point.
Oh, a nasty snipe out from Pillager. Might be able to get a second one with that sleep. It doesn't come through. Pillager has just been set up this whole map, this whole game so far, this whole round, just easy pickings, and hasn't had too much of a challenge, but here comes Friends of Cats releasing that Primal Rage, trying to get some environmental kills, and they do manage to get a few. That is a huge ultimate for this player.
And the team kill will be there as well, as Western Kentucky has set up quite in an advanced position. Now giving up a little bit of space, pardon me, as Pillager kind of walks in and just denies space as well.
Yeah, a little bit overconfident there, Frosty. You may be able to get in their back line, but you can't stand in front of their spawn. But once they get out of there, that's free game, as we can clearly see Friend of Cats just jumping onto the one who would be jumping in their back line. They're holding it down without any problems, and I see we're about to get into another fight that's being won for Western Kentucky.
And there was a smart play from Pillager, actually. Pillager's kind of set up on the right-hand side from the defender's perspective through the entirety of this map. This time, or before that last fight, Pillager actually rotates to the left side from the defender's perspective. And we saw Tonics try and go after the Widowmaker, where Pillager had been playing prior and wasn't there. So, you know, that's a very difficult thing, gets caught out, and the fight starts off in a disadvantage. Speaking of, this fight's over before it even begins.
Gonna activate that amplification matrix, just trying to get outside of their own spawn. Reinhardt's defending it, but what else is coming with it? The ante is there. It's just trying to prevent themselves from being spawn killed at this point, and this is just a horrible situation to be if you're St. Andrews right now.
Big headshot from Pillager yet again, and I mean it's a really rough position, as the self-destruct is gonna find one, but not much more than that.
Friend of Cats going to take out that assault onto the point, but here comes a massive Earth Shatter that will be negated with that Nano Blade, with the self-destruct. And this map is over, and this series is over. Western, oh my god, I thought it was the end of the map. I'm so foolish. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, LaFon. I'm getting a little ahead of myself there.
But you just know Western Kentucky, as they set up for their offensive round, is kind of having the same thought process you are here, right? They don't have to move this cart very far to get the victory signal, and both on the map and the series. St. Andrews has to play up right next to the spawn door to keep this game going. And 4 minutes to take 24 meters and change is a lot.
Yeah, this is a very tall order that I don't think St. Andrews will be able to fulfill. Interesting pick with the Torbjorn. I guess they're just trying to essentially defend this area since that's all they have to do. Just guard that payload up for, what, maybe 10 seconds of actual movement? 15 maybe?
It's gonna come down to this first fight. If Western Kentucky wins this fight, they start win the map, right? So definitely a lot riding on how aggressive St. Andrews is going to be. We're seeing the mobility characters come out from them here, Sora and Sir Win on the Winston and Diva respectively. So again, this first execution going to be critical. We'll see how well St. Andrews is able to make this one work as Pillager walks out the door with the scope already in play.
I think if one player gets hit with that hook from Friend of Cats, that may very well spell the fight. Coming in, getting hit with that Discord, it will be the Winston falling. Sora and Merxa both gonna get taken down as this fight is over as quickly as it started. And now I get to say it, now I am correct. Western Kentucky University takes the round, takes the map, and takes the series 3-0. I'm right this time, LaFon. I'm right.
It is in fact a 3-0, and St. Andrews a tough series for them for sure. Play of the game was the self-destruct over the top as defending against the Shatter here in the last moments of the defense for Western Kentucky, and definitely a very difficult series for St. Andrews. But you're gonna have to water off the duck's back, so to speak, on this one. As credit to Western Kentucky, they look just completely controlled in that match, dominant all the way throughout. I believe they lost 24% in total across 3 maps in terms of map control. So definitely a fairly one-sided affair here as Western Kentucky again just controlling every opportunity they had in every fight.
Yeah, they really had an absolute dominance around all 3 maps that they played in. It almost seemed that they knew wherever St. Andrews was going to be, or they just had the angle waiting for it. Whether it was a sniper angle over from Pillager, or a flank from Frosty, or a flank Reinhardt corner shatter over in King's Row. It is difficult to try and counteract that, and there were a lot of heroes in that game, a lot of hero plays, and we're actually going to be bringing out one of the players over from Western Kentucky as a hero of that game, and it's all part of LLS's hero of the game. And since 1949, LLS has invested nearly 1.3 billion in groundbreaking research, pioneering many of today's most innovative approaches. They work tirelessly to find cures and ensure patients can access the life-saving treatments they need. When somebody experiences the fear and uncertainty of a cancer diagnosis, LLS provides hope, compassion, education, and support. So just like LLS is making an impact in the cancer community, the LLS hero of the game represents a player who made the biggest impact in the match played, whether it was a clutch play, a sacrifice, or provided strong leadership when it mattered the most. Today's LLS hero of the game is Pillager. We will have them in just a few moments. And, they did an amazing job so far. What do you think of Pillager's performance so far, or throughout that series, LaFon?
I mean, Junkertown comes to mind specifically, right? They were in the Widowmaker was a threat to be dealt with, certainly, and one that gave a lot of space to Western Kentucky. They were able to have the tanks just not need to worry too much about the healing, right, onto the opposition, or a DPS being taken out before the fight even began, just to reduce the threat that St. Andrews was able to kind of bring to the table. So yeah, Pillager was a big part of the victory here for Western Kentucky. and certainly a sight to behold on the Widowmaker, especially, though not a slouch in either of the first two maps either.
No, definitely not. I mean, all around, there was just some great control coming from those players on Western Kentucky. I also think that Friend of Cats did a fantastic job in terms of protecting the team and just zoning the enemies and making sure that they were playing on their terms, forcing them to take angles, take choke points that they don't necessarily want to do. But regardless, let's take it back over to Pillager, our LLS hero of the game. Villager, how are you doing, man? Congratulations on the win.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, in that first map, you had an opportunity to take down St. Andrews University pretty easily. When you had that first map go down as quickly as it did that give you such great confidence finishing the series?
Yeah, definitely. I think though with matches like that, it comes down to just staying fundamental and keeping to what's true. Because I mean, not every match is going to be a situation like that. And when it comes time to be in a tough one, you got to be ready and you got to know what you're doing and know what the calls are, keeping consistent and things like that.
Right. I mean, to breaking off of that just a little bit, or to continue with it. Obviously, the composition we saw from your team today were flexible, right? We saw the rush composition on Kings Row. We saw the dive composition both in the final map as well as the second stage of Busan. Talk to me about the fact, and then the bunker composition on stage one. Talk to me about the flexibility of your team a little bit, because clearly you were able to show 3 different looks and looked good on all 3 of them.
Yeah, so we definitely practice what we're best at in practice, but we do a little bit of a variation when it comes to what we run. We do like to be mobile. We play best when we're mobile, but we do play really well in the double shield composition. Double sniper is a hot trend of ours, as well as being on top of you and being ready at all times. So
makes sense. Just to again continuation from that further. You guys are, not necessarily in the best score line in terms of the season, but the showing today was incredibly dominant, right? Is that something you're going to take confidence from and sort of ignore where you guys are in the standings to just next match one step at a time kind of thing?
yeah, so I mean, early in the season, this is our first semester together as a team with some of these guys. Only 2 of us, me being the 4-year player and another one being a 2-year player, we're kind of running into this thing where we're very young, and this is our first tournament together, so I definitely would see us meshing really well here pretty soon and it becoming a real problem for some teams.
Looking to see how some teams would try and solve that problem. And I guess the last question I have is just the flexibility. We were talking about flexibility in terms of compositions, but I'm thinking about your role specifically when it came to being either a sniper or a flanker. What makes you make that decision to be one of those roles? Is that depending on the map, or how are you feeling?
So throughout my time here at WKU, it's been a thing where I've had to play different roles, and I've just become very comfortable on being able to be the most versatile person I can be. Being able to switch into things where people aren't as comfortable at makes everything a lot easier on the team as well as myself. So it's all fundamentals when it comes down to it. So
makes sense. Well, congratulations on the victory yet again. As a final, a final thing, Pillager here. Anyone you want to shout out?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to shout out my teammates for sure, for playing their best today, and hopefully they continue to keep going, as well as anyone watching WKU at home. I appreciate it. As far as anyone supporting somebody on the team for me and my players, that's awesome. So thank y'all very much for the opportunity.
Thanks for your time, Pillager. Congrats on the win, and have a good night. Good luck in the rest of the season.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, folks, that was a incredibly quick first best of 5 for us, but unfortunately our second match of the night has been canceled. But there's still plenty of NACE Starleague action for you to check out throughout this week. So while we may be cutting short, there's still tons and tons of collegiate esports that you got to check out. Of course, League of Legends over on Tuesday, Call of Duty on Wednesday, and Counter-Strike on Friday, always at 7 p.m. EST and 4 p.m. PST.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, terrific amount of collegiate action here at the NACE Starleague. And we've seen some spectacular gameplay from a lot of players over the last little bit. So definitely exciting stuff. You will want to tune in. As the one thing that's kind of cool about collegiate is you get to see a different look from basically every team you kind of get to see as well. There's no stagnancy here. It's always something fresh, something fun, and collegiate's a definitely great place to kind of hang out, watch some good esports, and enjoy these players as they make sort of their growth throughout the year.
That's what it's all about. It's personal growth, cool players, and some cool games, some great collegiate esports, always at NACE Starleague. And we'll have some more amazing Overwatch next week as we continue down the season. But until then, we will see you on the next one. Thank you for everyone who came out and played and watched. Have a good night.